Take two. Try this again. I see the stream starting soon, and I do believe that we are good to go.
We are good to go. All right, folks, sorry about that. Technical issues. I would rather run into these issues with our stream right now when there is no imminent threat of severe weather for anywhere in the Tennessee Valley. We are so sorry about that. If in the comments someone could let us know, you could see us, you could hear us, the audio should be much better. Sorry about that little hiccup. Again, First Alert Meteorologist Eric Burke alongside Meteorologist Jeff Desnoyers on your Saturday morning. Today is a 48 First Alert weather day. What we're tracking right now is a very strong storm in parts of Mississippi. This is going to head toward the Tupelo area, might just miss them off to the south and might have some impacts there for the Amory area in Mississippi. But this is heading northeast. This has a history of producing a very large, dangerous tornado. Now they have dropped the considerable tag on this tornado warning, but we've seen the debris signature showing up. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. Good morning to you. We've got, you guys are all coming back, and sorry about that little hiccup, but again, I'd rather have that happen now as opposed to 2 hours from now when we could be tracking these potentially severe storms moving into parts of northwest Alabama. Jeff, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. I'm glad we're up and running. This is great. Sorry about having to restart everybody. We thank you all for coming back. All we have is the radar up right now, just showing you what you're looking at, everybody. This is not in Alabama. This is a tornado warning for central Mississippi. We've been tracking this really for the last almost half an hour. Eric and I have been keeping an eye on it. We figured it'd be a good time. We had some time to go on for Facebook Live or for all of our live streaming. And just to update you, because I'm sure a lot of you have been watching the radar, but across our area right now, there's nothing, any kind of rainfall or any kind of severe weather. It's off to our west right now. And it looks like we're going to have 2 waves of storms today. So round 1 will come in here this early morning hours. We're tracking all that lightning and all the severe weather right now off to our west near Tupelo with a tornado warning cell. And then there'll be a second round of storms that comes in this afternoon and evening. It's round 2 that will probably have a bit more of an impact for all of Tennessee Valley. But right now our concern is to the west with this cell here as it inches ever so closely to the Alabama state line sometime in the next hour. And that's what we're tracking right now. I'll zoom out and give you a basic idea of where storms are. There's been a history of tornadic cells up in the St. Louis area last night. There's also a cell severe thunderstorm warning off to the south and west, still in Mississippi, but south and west of Tuscaloosa. And we'll continue to track storms. And what they'll do is most of the movement today will be southwest to northeast, though a few of the tornado warning cells, probably more towards the afternoon and evening, may start to veer a bit to the east. But overall, though, your general track, if you turn on the WAFF 48 app, make sure your radar is set to current and not future, and you'll track storms moving southwest to northeast across our area. That is the direction that this particular cell is moving in Mississippi. I'll go ahead and put this in motion for you. And again, we've been tracking it since it was moving through areas along I-55 in Mississippi, now making its way towards Tupelo, and would have its sights set on northwest Alabama. With the tornado warning cell, obviously a concern. It looks like as it moves north and east, it may move into a little bit less favorable air mass for tornadoes, but maybe becoming a big wind, rain, and hail maker as it moves north and east. But we're tracking it obviously very closely. There's a timeline that Eric's putting up.
Yeah, so this storm is moving kind of east-northeast at about 60 miles per hour, just going to extend this. This is over 90 minutes now, but if you start looking for some of our communities there, the Belmont area, you've got Vina, Red Bay, Hodges, eventually out toward Russellville. So Fulton, where's Fulton here? Smithville, why is this not going out longer? But this is we're talking probably a 2:30, 2:45 arrival for maybe areas along the state line too. So watching that, but here's just a storm track, shows you near Pontotoc, Mississippi, 203, and then Aberdeen, 215, Tupelo is 218, and then still continuing to track kind of east-northeasterly. Now there's a good chance that this might start turning a bit more to the right too, but obviously a very concerning storm, and this is going to be the start of what could potentially be a very active day of severe weather across North Alabama and southern Middle Tennessee. We've been talking about this severe weather threat for your Saturday. And it's going to be a long duration event, but this will by no means be just start to finish severe storms in your location. We're going to see breaks through the day. We're looking at multiple rounds of storms like Jeff was talking about. We could actually show you a bit on our thoughts. We'll look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook, and then we're going to go through a bit of hour-by-hour forecasting, showing you some potential scenarios of what could unfold. Now, one thing we do have working in our favor, the atmosphere over parts of northwest Alabama is not nearly as unstable as it is right now in Mississippi, supporting that tornadic storm that continues to track. We're talking golf ball size hail and wind gusts maybe in excess of 70 miles per hour, along with the potential of seeing that tornado regenerating and reforming.
Yeah, and a lot of people on the Facebook, some of the questions and comments, a lot of people asking, are we under any kind of warning or watch for tornadoes? We are not. There's a tornado watch that goes right up to the Mississippi-Alabama state line currently. But as I show the graphic to you, it's off to the west. Right now, we are not in any kind of watch. We are not in any kind of warning. And I put through 5 a.m. Central Daylight Time on that graphic, assuming that there will be a tornado watch issued for areas west of I-65 here shortly, and it will likely run until the morning hours, sometime around 5 or 6. That has not happened yet. We're still waiting on any kind of tornado watch for our area. And just remember, a watch doesn't mean that there's a tornado on the ground. A watch means that it's conducive for tornadic activity. But right now, we are not in any kind of watch. We are not in any kind of warning. The cell that we're tracking is still off to the west, and Eric has that on the radar. That's what we were just talking about, moving off to the north and east. A lot of you asking, obviously, if you're closer to the state line of Mississippi and Alabama, like if you live in Red Bay or if you live in areas in Colbert County or even Lauderdale County, you're obviously watching this very closely. And now is the time to maybe start thinking about, if this storm continues to maintain strength and still continues to produce a tornado warning as it gets closer to the state line, might want to take some action and maybe get yourself into a safe place, especially if you're in Vina.
Yeah, and just looking at this storm track that we have up right now, Red Bay, this would be 1051 if it keeps its current speed. Vina, 253, and then just before 3 a.m. for the Hodges area. So that is definitely the cell that we're watching. You go a little farther to the south, notice there are some more individual cells that continue to fire up here. This is the more favorable environment for these storms to continue to strengthen, and this would be west and southwest of Tuscaloosa. Right now, just putting out severe thunderstorm warnings. I think the reason for the tornado warning, obviously, Jeff, is this storm has a history of producing a very large tornado. We'll just kind of take a little bit of a closer look. You've got the velocity. I mean, that is just your classic, embedded supercell right there. When you see the reds, greens, and pinks touching each other, that is a significant area of rotation. And then we go over to debris. Looks like the debris signature is a bit more quiet and toned down than it was. Actually not seeing any lofting debris at the moment. When you look at that area of rotation and put it in a loop here and just kind of see the formation of this, rotation does seem to be weakening a tad. And again, a lot of that probably just has to do with the environment that this storm is entering. A bit more favorable there out toward areas to the west where it was a much stronger storm. Still a very impactful storm. If we look at hail really quick, and it's actually not showing any hail, that's a good thing. We want to see this storm weaken for sure before it starts moving into parts of northwest Alabama. So this would be kind of this overnight wave that this was the biggest question in the forecast is, would we see these storms or would that cap in the atmosphere hold? If we look at some current temperatures and dew points, Jeff, along with that wind, if anyone is, just stepped outside at any point this evening or just even been inside and heard things rattling around outside, it's just the general gradient winds at the moment out of the south and west. Jeff pulling up temperatures for you. We are in the mid 60s to low 70s, and the dew point, I'm guessing, probably mid to upper 60s. Did feel definitely a bit on the sticky side coming in. We've got 50s.
Close
so,
to 60.
Hey, that is a good sign. Usually anytime a dew point over 60 is enough to support these severe cells. So we don't have as much moisture as they have to the west and southwest, and that's hopefully going to continue to make this storm weaken as it moves east-northeasterly here. But we've been talking about multiple rounds of potential severe storms through the day today. I really think this afternoon and evening it's going to be busy. This is a long duration event. Just right now, go over your severe weather plan, know where your shelter is. No one in North Alabama, Middle Tennessee needs to be sheltering right now. Just to reiterate that, if you're just joining the stream, we're just talking about what's going on right now off to our west and southwest in Mississippi. But that tornado warning continues, and it does go until 2:15. So still have about another 25 minutes on that tornado warning. Jeff?
Yeah, and I think this is a really, really, really important way to go. I switched it over to the radar. My fault. I'm goofing off with graphics on you. I'm trying to put some different graphics up, everybody, so you can see what's happening outside right now, the ingredients coming together. And keep in mind, there's 2 rounds of storms. It's very important because this first round this morning is going to be impactful in terms of the potential for some isolated tornadoes or gusty winds and heavy rain. Then there's going to be a pause in the action, and a lot of people are going to be sitting at home about 11 a.m. going, boy, did they screw up this forecast. There's nothing going on. Don't let your guard down if you don't get this first burst of storms this morning through about 8, 9 a.m. because there's another round coming this afternoon and evening that could be much more impactful and more widespread and will impact more of the Tennessee Valley than what the morning storms will do. And the second round, especially if you get a little daytime heating in between the 2 rounds and you can pop a little sunshine. I mean, some of the forecast models are now spitting out 80-degree temperatures. And if that's the case, you have a potential for more in the way of stronger storms with round 2 that could be impactful. And I think if you don't get round 1, which is happening off to our west now, a lot of people put their guard down and say, oh, well, they messed up this forecast. Nothing's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, you know, there's tornado warnings galore as we go into the afternoon and evening. We're hoping it plays down, but there's a strong possibility that that could happen. That signature on that cell has been impressive since really western Mississippi, when it was west of I-55.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we are seeing a little bit of a weakening trend. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. I know the Weather Service in Huntsville has been coordinating with the Storm Prediction Center about any potential watch. No watch or active warnings for us right now. No one needs to be seeking shelter. I did see that question pop up right now. This is all in Mississippi, just kind of tracking to the north and northeast. Right now, it's warm. It's pretty humid. We've got that southwesterly wind just really ripping in, and that was one of our concerns as well. Would those general gradient winds, if they are strong enough, would those potentially cause initial power outages? And one of the things that we were talking about during the week is you might lose power here this morning, and then you never know when that power is going to come back on. Have an AM, FM battery operator radio. We've got numerous radio partners across the area that will stream our coverage as needed. It's a great way to stay informed. Check that NOAA weather radio. Make sure you've got batteries in your safe spot. Make sure you've got everything you need. And if you do need to seek shelter at some point here today, just make sure you've got a good pair of shoes on in case something happens, and you know there could be broken glass or debris around the area. So this is what we're looking at right now. This is a setup, nasty storm out there in Mississippi right now. It did have that considerable tag on the tornado warning earlier, and definitely a confirmed tornado here. But that is well off to our west. We're talking about 2:45 at the earliest if you're joining us from Franklin County. So that gives us a little more than an hour almost before this gets here. So watching things closely. These are obviously very electrical storms. There is a ton of cloud-to-ground lightning with this. At any point, if we see a threat, we will go on television, Channel 48, however you watch us. We are streaming this. This is obviously a lot of you watching on Facebook. We have YouTube going right now. This stream is also on our website, WAFF.com, and also on the news app, the WAFF 48 news app. So someone asking about Red Bay there, it'd be about 2:50 a.m., Pamela, 2:50 a.m. So Jeff, why don't you walk them through some of the scenarios, looking at future radar, potentially showing the different waves that we're looking at as we go through the day. And when we start to show you some of this model data coming in, now you'll see why we're saying this is a long duration event, because it's coming in rounds as we go through the day.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it for just a moment and start it back at the beginning for you. And this is at 1 o'clock. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit more to 2 o'clock because we know that we've already been talking about the storm is off to our west, right? So this is the 2 o'clock snapshot. Notice that much of the Tennessee Valley, North Alabama, Middle Tennessee, there's nothing really there, but you see evidence of some rain coming in just to the west of Phil Campbell. That's exactly what we were just talking about. Moving into areas west, that one cell, whether it stays strong or weakens, it's coming closer to the Alabama state line after 2 o'clock, more like 2:30. And then whatever's left of those storms moving through Mississippi will make it into western Alabama. At this point, the question is, do they remain as strong as they are right now, or are they going to be more wind and rain? Still an impact and still very impactful storms for much of areas west of I-65 by 3:30 a.m. And then that line will continue to move to the east. At this point, probably not maintaining as strong as they have been, or the cluster of storms to our west have been. But as they continue to move to the east, they're still packing a punch with damaging winds and heavy rainfall. This is at 6:30 a.m. The line is crossing I-65, moving into areas east of I-65, and eventually moving southwest to northeast. By the time we get to about 11 a.m., there's not a lot of coverage there, right? There's a few showers up towards Middle Tennessee, maybe a few showers back west into the Moulton area, but there's this big lull in the action. And this is when the atmosphere is essentially just re-gauging itself to pop more storms in the afternoon. And what happens is now the atmosphere, you got temperatures warming up to near 80, dew points are rising at this point. And what happens is you get this second round of storms that comes in the afternoon. Notice the coverage. It's a little bit more than what we saw here this morning. Everybody's getting into thunderstorms, and that will continue to cross the Tennessee Valley into the evening hours. And by the time we get to 6:30, 7 p.m., much of the area is dealing with some kind of thunderstorm activity. Some of the storms at this point are severe. This is when we're tracking damaging winds, large hail, heavy rainfall, and also potential for tornadoes. The line will continue to move east of I-65, and by 9 or 10 p.m., most of the activity is moving out of DeKalb and Jackson County. And besides a few leftover showers for Sunday morning and even into the afternoon, there could be even a stray thunderstorm, the severe weather threat at that point is over. And at that point, we're focusing on getting back into some sunshine and a quieter weather pattern, not just for Sunday, but for much of the beginning part of next week on Monday and Tuesday. There are no current watches or warnings for our area. There's a tornado watch that goes right up into the Mississippi-Alabama state line, and there's no watch issued yet for northwest or western Alabama, though there has been a tornado that has touched down in central Mississippi with this particular cell here. It continues to track to the north and east, not quite as tightly wound as we saw when it was moving just to the west of here, but starting to maybe broaden out just a bit and become more of a rain event and more of a wind event. And as it moves to the Alabama state line, that is what the thinking is at this point. Keep in mind, we have thunderstorm winds with this. We have the potential for severe weather. There's going to be strong winds even when you don't have a thunderstorm. And the wind advisory has been issued for our area, kicking in at 7 a.m. today, and it goes all the way till 1 a.m. on Sunday. One aspect of storms that we don't cover very much is rainfall. You know, I feel like we talk about it, but it kind of gets lost with tornadoes and damaging winds. And I feel like we need to focus on the potential for flash flooding as well. The potential is there for some areas to pick up locally 5, 6, 7 inches of rainfall throughout the day today and tonight. That would certainly prompt flash flooding. So the severe weather threats, and we listed them here for you. Winds, yes, likely. Heavy rainfall, very high. There's a good chance for some large hail, and there is a chance for tornadoes, and not the typical, line that we tracked like February 15th. Eric and I were on air that night and tracked EF0s and EF1s mainly, still causing considerable damage, especially in the Tuscumbia area. But these could be a little bit stronger tornadoes. They're more in the way of a supercell tornado instead of a spin-up tornado, and that can cause much more in the way of damage, widespread damage, and usually long track too. So you have usually, instead of just popping up in the line and limiting the amount of warning time we can give, when you have these long track storms like this, the tornadoes usually can give you a heads up. Like right now, we're tracking that cell in Mississippi that we were just talking about as it's moving north and east. We can give you all ample time to prepare if you are in Red Bay or if you are in portions of Colbert County, especially closer to the state line. We just talked, Eric just mentioned, this is a 2:30, quarter of 3 kind of event. We're giving you a half-hour heads up, and if the storm were to weaken before it gets there, that's what we want. We just want rain and wind, and if we can limit any kind of, obviously, tornadic activity, that's what we want.
Yeah, and just looking at what the Weather Service, they're coordinating with the Storm Prediction Center, mulling over the idea of a watch. If I were to guess, we probably will get a tornado watch, I would say at least for our westernmost counties. So that would probably be you in Franklin, Colbert, Lauderdale, and Lawrence County. Now, whether or not they pull the trigger on that, as soon as it happens, we will be the first to let you know. But there is the potential that some of our western counties, at the very least, may be put under a watch here. It might come out in half an hour. We are obviously tracking this tornado warned cell right now west of Amory and southwest of Tupelo. Has a history of producing a violent tornado, and it is tracking northeast. Now, we showed you the dew point just in the upper 50s. That's really all it's going to take. A dew point in the mid 60s would be far more concerning. Now, this storm that produced the tornado in Mississippi, it's going through what we call cycling, where it strengthens and then it starts to weaken. So it might be moving into that environment that is not as conducive. Again, if anyone is just joining us, First Alert Meteorologist Eric Burke and Meteorologist Jeff Desnoyers, this is just the start of our coverage of what could be a very long and active day of severe weather across the Tennessee Valley, where we've got the Storm Prediction Center outlooks. Jeff, do you have that graphic available, the SPC outlook, just to show you their rationale? I mean, these are very brilliant meteorologists here, some of the smartest we have in the business. And if you look at that, the severe risk, that pink area, this is a very rare 5 out of 5 in the pink. That is a high risk, and that includes the Birmingham metro area. That does include Tuscaloosa, a good portion of Mississippi. Now, this isn't necessarily for this morning. I would say this is most likely going to be potentially that late morning, certainly the afternoon and evening round. And that high risk has actually moved up north just a little bit. I don't want people to get too focused on I'm only in the red versus the pink. 4 out of 5, a moderate risk. That's fairly rare as well. But everyone here, all the way from northwest Alabama, southern middle Tennessee, out to northeast Alabama, Sand Mountain, areas to the south of the Tennessee River, including Morgan County, Lawrence County, Marshall, especially you in Coleman County. This is going to be an active day. Everyone has the potential of seeing severe weather today. Typical March severe weather setup. We've got a lot of instability. We've got a lot of shear. The upper level winds are favorable. That means all forms of severe weather will be possible. What does that mean? This isn't that line that we're tracking potentially. We could have supercell storms. They could produce destructive winds, damaging straight line wind gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour. So you have to take even the severe thunderstorm warnings very seriously as we go through the day today. There's the potential for large hail, severe hail being 1 inch in diameter or larger, and that is about the size of a quarter. We had reports of potential golf ball size hail in Mississippi with this cell moving in. These storms will be incredibly electric, lots of cloud-to-ground lightning. Jeff highlighting the threat for heavy rainfall. Look at all that lightning we have right now in Mississippi. And usually that's a pretty good indicator of whether or not a storm is strengthening when you see that lightning counter going up. This is going through that cycling phase. This has been pretty consistent. We're not seeing that huge uptick in lightning. And yes, we do have a threat for tornadoes. Some of these, especially the ones associated with supercells, can be strong, long track tornadoes. Now, the thing with that is we could give you more lead time when we've got that supercell moving through the area. Sometimes that could be 30 plus minutes, so you've got plenty of time to get to that safe spot. This is one of those days. I know we have many residents here that live in mobile homes. This might be a day, if you have a friend or a relative in a more sturdy structure, that might be a good option. Have your plan in place now, though. A lot of people just wanting to go to bed, trying to get some sleep because it could be a long day. A lot of you have storm anxiety. Totally understandable. These are the days, and Well, it's still winter technically, but as we head through the spring season, it stirs up a lot of emotion. A lot of you have experienced the worst of the worst severe weather firsthand. And just know that we're here for the entire day. Anytime that we see something concerning, we will cut into television programming. We'll have multiple streams going through the day. We've got a fully staffed newsroom. We are ready to go, give you those damage reports as they're coming in. Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis getting a little bit of sleep here this morning, but I assure you, you will see plenty of Brad and get plenty of updates from him as well as we go through this very busy Saturday.
Yeah, somebody just asked, I don't know who, I think it was Alexis with a U. She said, in DeKalb County, can I go to bed? The storms aren't even near you. They're in Mississippi, so you could probably get some sleep for a couple hours. A lot of the storm action is still off to the west. Some of you asking if you're clear. We haven't even started with the storms yet, so we can't really clear people yet because the storms haven't moved into Alabama. They're still in Mississippi. So you have one round of storms moving into areas of Alabama by about 2:30 in the morning where we're at now. We're watching it closely. Lots of lightning. Some of you just letting me know that you live in Tuscumbia. And if you're looking west, you can see some lightning already. The storms will probably move east and weaken just a bit as they move towards I-65. Somebody asked what timeline for Athens. It's about 4 o'clock. And then this line will continue to move to the northeast, and then it's out of here by late morning. You get a little break in the action, and the atmosphere starts to fire back up again, and more storms will be fueled into the afternoon and evening. It is round 2 that will likely have the potential to bring more widespread severe weather across the area. That is the time frame when all locations will have the potential for tornadoes, damaging winds, heavy rainfall, and dangerous lightning. Remember, some areas could pick up a half a foot of rain with all this. Then it moves on out, and a few straggler showers and maybe even an isolated storm on Sunday, but no severe weather is expected. Just to update you all, we are not in any kind of watch or warning at this time. There is no watch issued for our area, but it does go right up to the Mississippi-Alabama line. The current radar focused on that storm that's off to our south and west. You see a little lightning in the Corinth area. That's probably what you see if you live in Waterloo or Florence, if you look off to the west. But the big cluster of lightning that sticks out like a sore thumb just to the south of Tupelo, it is that particular cell right now that has a tornado warning. Doesn't look nearly as organized as it was previously when it was west, but there's still a tornado warning on it. And then off to the south, there's still some storms moving through areas just to the north or south of Columbus, rather, about to cross the state line west of Tuscaloosa. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings, I imagine, for winds in excess of 60 miles an hour and probably some large hail, too. Hail is something that could become a bit of an issue with this setup that we have into the afternoon, where we could be looking at the potential for 1-inch diameter hail to go along with the heavy rainfall, damaging winds, and the potential for lightning as well. A lot of people here saying we can see the lightning in Tuscumbia right now. That's not associated with the tornado warning cell, everybody. It could be. You might be seeing some of that lightning, but most of the lightning I imagine you're seeing is from the thunderstorms in far northeast Mississippi, right?
Yeah, so out toward Corinth, there's a non-severe storm right now, kind of taking on a little bit of an ominous shape. Don't like to see that. We get the kidney being going, potential supercell, but there is thunder and lightning. Some of you are actually seeing some rainfall right now. If you live in western Colbert County right now, maybe parts of extreme northwest Franklin County. These are not severe. Again, no one needs to be seeking shelter at this moment. We're just watching that main cluster here, and I think based on the trends that we're seeing, it is weakening a hair, which is great news for us, obviously, but this could still produce some very strong winds, a ton of heavy rainfall, maybe some non-severe hail with this too. I just turned on the lightning just to show you if you hear thunder. Again, anyone in Franklin, Colbert, Lauderdale County, nothing severe at this time. Might just see some rain showers, hear some thunder, but that's it. The severe weather threat, really not approaching the area. I would say 2:45 at the earliest, and then continuing. Obviously, we have a newscast here that starts at 5 a.m. Whether or not we'll be in continuous coverage, that's just based on what's happening. This was the round of storms that we had the most questions about. Would it actually happen? Would the air mass be supportive and conducive to these storms not only forming, but staying severe? So there's a chance Just some of us see a lot of heavy rainfall. We've got those general gusty gradient winds. They'll be out of the south and southwest, probably hitting 30 to 40 miles per hour, some of these gusts too. And that could just kind of blow things around. I know if you wake up early tomorrow, I took my patio furniture in. Just something easy that you can do that just kind of prevents, future headaches with things blowing around. About 55 to 60.
That good?
Yep, looks good. So Belmont there, just over the state line in Mississippi. That's 255. So we're looking at about that, I'm trying to give you as much lead time, 245 at the earliest too. But the storms right now just over the state line. Yes, they've got thunder and lightning, maybe some small hail with them, but they are not severe. They're not warned. I don't even think they have special weather statements out on them too. So that's just kind of ahead of the bigger storm that's off to the south and southwest.
Yeah, and Jim George just asked, he said, what about Russellville? Is that storm headed my way? That's what we're talking about. These storms, they're not firing up in the point where we can't give you a tremendous amount of warning. We can tell you that if you're in the Russellville area, this is like an hour away from you. And the thought process with this is, though it has packed a punch with a confirmed tornado in central Mississippi, the thought process as it moves north and east will be to weaken some. But I would certainly keep an eye on the radar if I was in Russellville and keep updates coming, because if it's 50 minutes to an hour away, as it gets closer to 3 o'clock and this storm doesn't weaken and still has some kind of twist and turn in producing some kind of tornado, we want to make sure that you are able to get to a safe place. And that's why we're on air now doing our Facebook Live and our streaming services for all the streaming that we do to keep you aware of what's going on. Somebody asked, why aren't you on TV right now? Because the storm's not in Alabama or Tennessee. It's still in Mississippi, but this is where we can give you updates and you can go ahead and make preparations to be safe if the storm were to maintain its strength and continue to the north and east and still produce a tornado as it approaches the Alabama state line.
And I just want to show you, when you look at the velocity, this rotation, that center part of the storm has broadened out so much. Again, a good sign for us right now if this trend continues, that we're getting that more broad rotation. And also National Weather Service in Memphis right now, they're probably mulling over the idea of extending that tornado warning, or if they're just maybe put a severe thunderstorm warning on this too. We do have a new mesoscale discussion from the Storm Prediction Center. Jeff's going to gloss over that and he'll give you the latest on that. But this storm's still going to produce a lot of wind, obviously, whether or not it stays indicating potential tornadic development. It could recycle and strengthen here, and then we'll start to move in about the 3 o'clock hour for you in southwestern Franklin County. But I like that the rotation has broadened out significantly, still has a ton of lightning with it, but it's not looking nearly as potent as it did not long ago. Oh, there's the extension of the tornado warning now. That includes Amory, Mississippi. And this will go all the way up to the state line. So this warning goes until 3 a.m. now. Does not include Tupelo, Mississippi, but also based on the track of that, looks like it would have been almost a little farther south or a little bit more of an easterly component to that polygon. Yeah. But that's the warning now. That goes until 3 o'clock, and that's for Itawamba County there in Mississippi. So just keeping an eye on things. Jeff, we might want to consider doing a on-air cut-in at some point if people are waking up and maybe they hear thunder. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, we'll get to one soon. I think we should probably pop on air, even though it's about an hour away. It gives people an update if they happen to be tuning in. You could probably start to hear, I would imagine, like if you're in Red Bay or Hamilton or that area, you're hearing thunder and lightning. And obviously the discussion for thunderstorms all week long has been the potential for severe weather. Everybody's talking about it. So when you start hearing thunder and lightning and it's 2:13 in the morning and you were somebody who did go to bed, and then all of a sudden you hear lightning and thunder, you hear thunder, you see lightning in the distance, you immediately turn on the TV and say, okay, what's going on? So we'll probably do a quick cut in here shortly just to let people know that we're watching this closely.
Yeah, obviously a storm worth watching, has a history of producing a large tornado too. And we're all eyes are on that storm right now. This is the start of our severe weather day. and no one needs to be seeking shelter right now. If you are in Red Bay, Vina, Hodges, maybe even Russellville and Phil Campbell there, start maybe considering not seeking shelter, but just know what your plan of attack is. If we do start, calling out towns that need to seek shelter, again, this won't be for at least another half an hour or longer, but we're just trying to give you as much early lead time as possible with this. And this is this morning round. The afternoon, evening, things can get very, very busy, very hectic here at times. Severe weather expected all across the state of Alabama, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. If you have a spring breaker down there, maybe one of your college students is on spring break down the Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, for example, even parts of Florida, make sure that they know that there is a risk of seeing some potential severe weather as we go through the day today.
Just going to put this in motion for you. Again, if you live in western Lauderdale County up towards the Shoals, there's probably a little bit of lightning. Some of the rainfall is now making it into your area. That's not the area of concern for any kind of warning at this time. That is to our south. Anything that's moving into western Lauderdale County is not severe at this time. The area of concern is this tornado. I'm sorry about that. Tornado warning that is south of Tupelo. And as it continues to move to the north and east, a new tornado warning has been issued, and it goes right up into the state line. There are no tornado watches or any warnings for parts of Alabama or Tennessee at this time. But obviously, lots of lightning, heavy rainfall, and a history of producing a tornado that cell off to our west. And that is the reason why we're going to probably do a quick update here on air, just to let people know when they're starting to hear that thunder and lightning, what is actually going on right now.
And from the Weather Service in Huntsville, they're coordinating a watch with the Storm Prediction Center. I don't think this would be for the entire area. I may be wrong. I'm not sure what their conversations are, but based on what I'm seeing, is at least some of our western counties will be put under a tornado watch here. So that current watch will be extended. I don't have any idea of what a potential time frame of this watch duration would be, but know that a tornado watch is going to be coming for at least some of our western counties. And that's just based on that one cell in particular here, and maybe seeing some development even farther south of it too. So a watch will be coming. If you've got your alerts on your 48 weather app, you might get an alert there. Your NOAA weather radio may go off depending on where you live here and where they actually put that watch out. But that will be coming up here momentarily. I would guess sometimes it takes about 10 minutes for them to get everything right and all the information punched in correctly.
Yeah, when it comes to live, you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll do it really quick. Everybody just bear with me for just a moment. I'm going to have to go on air really quick, and I got to let them know in the back, so just bear with me for just a moment. All right, everybody, I'm back. I haven't left you. Just going to coordinate a quick little online or on-air hit real quick. And I want to get some of my graphics ready to go so I can do that for everybody. I'm actually going to go to the green screen if you're okay with that. Max 1. Of lightning south of Tupelo. This is a tornado warned cell. The reason why we come on air to tell you this, a lot of you probably hear the lightning or hear the thunder and see the lightning, and you're waking up in Hamilton, or you're waking up in Russellville, you're waking up in Florence. If you're in the Shoals area, the lightning and the thunder you hear is from a non-severe thunderstorm that is just off to your west. But if you're in the Hamilton area or Red Bay and you're looking west, you see all this lightning coming your way, and there is a tornado warning up into the state line right now. This is the area that we're tracking. We come on air to let you know that you still have about 30 to 45 minutes before it gets to the state line. The hope is that it starts to weaken a bit and becomes more of a wind and rain maker, but it certainly has our attention as it continues to move to the northeast at about 55 miles per hour. If you are in the Red Bay area or Hamilton area or anywhere in Colbert County, obviously you want to make sure you have a plan in place here as we get closer to the 3 o'clock hour as this continues to move off to the north and east. Now we have 2 waves of thunderstorms today. So what happens is you get hit with this morning thunderstorm round, and this will continue till about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Then there'll be a little bit of a break in the action. Then there'll be more storms that likely develop this afternoon. That will be more of a widespread severe thunderstorm event where we could talk about multiple tornadoes, damaging winds, heavy rainfall, and certainly some large hail. So here's that cell I just showed you. There it is in Tupelo again. We do have a history of a tornado with this particular cell. And at this time, we don't have any watches or warnings for our area. The tornado watch includes parts of Mississippi, western Tennessee, northeast Louisiana, and southeast Arkansas. But I do think that in just a matter of moments, the National Weather Service locally is working with the Storm Prediction Center, and I do believe we'll see a tornado watch that's issued for areas west, especially with that cell that's approaching the state line. And I would imagine it would go sometime through about 5 or 6 a.m. There is no watch at this time, but the coordinating efforts to get a tornado watch for areas west of 65 will likely happen here shortly. What we're going to do, since there's no warnings for our particular area, we're not going to stay on air, but we are streaming on all of our services right now. Eric Burke is in-house with me. We are working this together here through the morning hours, and we'll continue to provide you updates streaming. If anything goes warned in our forecast area, we will be live on air bringing you updates. For now, we'll send you back to regularly scheduled programming.
So weather 48 is max, and then element 8, I was trying to change to prod, but it's just on weather 48 right now.
I'm going to put the radar back up for everybody to see.
Okay. This morning will have that PDS tag on it just based on some of the trends. Later today, the late morning, afternoon, evening round, that could certainly be a PDS tornado watch. Again, there's no confidence in that right now. Obviously a very active day of weather, but a tornado watch is a tornado watch. That means there is a concern of seeing tornadoes here this morning for the duration of that watch. So everyone kind of needs to start going over that plan. A lot of you may be watching in Sand Mountain right now. Things are quiet. This is far away from you. This is mainly most impactful for folks that are maybe in Marion County, eventually Winston County. This would be also for Franklin County here. That is one of our actual viewing areas, counties, including Red Bay, Vina, and Hodges right now. You would just kind of be on the northern end of this, but just watching that radar loop continuously, this is exactly what we're kind of expecting. This was the question, would we see this morning round? And even if this does not produce a tornado, we could easily get some straight line winds out of this. We could get potentially large hail, a whole lot of rainfall, as well as some frequent cloud ground lightning. So this storm going through its cycles, just watching this, I know there were just so many tornado warnings all the way up into parts of northern Illinois. It shows you the extent and the magnitude of this system that we're dealing with here. Just a very volatile March setup for a very long active day. This is going to be impactful for areas not just in the Tennessee Valley, but all across Alabama and the southeast U.S. as this continues to push through.
Yeah, a lot of questions coming on is how many tornadoes have touched down Alabama so far? Well, the storm hasn't made it here yet. So this round that's moving across the state line, this is what we'll watch this morning. I think if you were to think about what round would produce more tornadoes, okay? Remember, we have one round coming in this morning. Then there'll be a break in the action. That should end about 8, 9 o'clock. Then the break happens, and we turn our attention to more storms this afternoon. And I'll show you the timeline again really quick. And it's that second area or second round of storms that may start to fire up more in the way of tornado activity. So here we go, 2:30, 3 o'clock. The thunderstorms that we're watching in Mississippi moving across the state line. Obviously, if it stays as strong as it is and could still produce a tornado, a warning will likely be issued for parts of western Alabama. We have to watch, that's going to probably be issued as well here shortly. And we're watching all this through the 3 o'clock hour. As the storms move off to the east, certainly some heavy rainfall and some gusty winds, making it to I-65 by 4 or 5 o'clock. I do think that at this point, probably not as much of a tornado threat at this point, but it's still something that we have to be concerned about. It's not so much this morning round of storms that could produce the most tornadoes. They're still going to be impactful with rain and wind, though, everybody. But by the time we get to the afternoon, here comes round 2, and that starts about 1, 2 o'clock. And this is the time frame through about Saturday evening, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, that we could be looking at widespread reports of damage across the area, not just with tornadoes, but with damaging winds, large hail, heavy rainfall, and dangerous lightning. And then by the time we get to Sunday morning, most areas will be clear at this point. There's still a slight chance of a storm or shower on Sunday, but certainly nothing in the way of severe weather. Brad made this graphic last night. I think it's a really great way to show you what we're talking about. We have the potential for severe weather here in the red here this morning, an isolated tornado, obviously some hail, some lightning, and some wind gusts with very heavy rain. But then as we go into the afternoon, that area expands and we add that white color there. And that's where a very favorable area for severe weather will develop. And even if you're not in that white shaded area and you're in the red area this afternoon into the evening hours, there's still a very good chance that severe weather will impact your town or your location as a very active day sets up across the Tennessee Valley as we start not just this morning, but this afternoon and evening too.
Yeah, and I'm going to put the storm track back on this. Has slowed down a bit. It's actually moving at 45 miles per hour, but I'm going to do 50 just to give you a little bit of a lead time here on that in case it speeds up. But this is obviously for the potential of a tornado, the tornado warning itself, but also the mention of $half size hail. That is substantial hail. That is definitely severe hail coming this way. Wind gust within this could easily be 60 plus miles per hour too. So this is an aggressive storm, and that radar signature almost seems like it's got a little bit of a surge in it. But then near Verona, Mississippi, and east and southeast of Pontotoc there, it looks like we could be getting some other areas of rotation potentially embedded in this here. So this storm, if it continues to track northeasterly at this same speed of 45 miles per hour, we're talking Red Bay here just after 3 a.m., 3:10, Hodges 3:16, and Hackleburg there at 3:23. Not to skip over Uinvina there also at 3:09. So this is for Franklin County. You are not under a warning yet. No one needs to seek shelter. If at any point in Franklin County, if you just feel like going to your safe spot, there is nothing wrong with that. Safety first, always take care of yourself and your family and make sure that your safe spot is ready to go. For everyone else that's watching right now, some people, understandably, you just want to go to bed. I don't blame you, but get as much sleep as you can here this morning because the rest of the day, really not a day to be out and about running errands or anything of that sort, just because these storms are going to fire up, and they're going to fire up quickly. Multiple rounds of storms expected to potentially there near Amory. That's very close to the radar, though. I think we'd have a much clearer picture of that. Yeah. And it'd probably be displaced a little to the northwest. But you start to see, we use the shear tool a lot. This is where just the radar is saying, hey, there's a little bit of spin here. You might want to keep an eye on it. It's going to be just north of Amory, Mississippi, and then south and east of Shannon there. That's that area of rotation. So this is heading toward the Tremont area and also Fulton there. Jeff doing a good job highlighting that for you strong. And then anytime we see the yellow, that is definitely something something is happening within that storm too. And the velocity will show you that too. It's just kind of a different way of looking at it. And what you've got is just a ton of inflow into this because there's not much there off to the south. that's actually going to cut this off. So it's getting all of that moisture fed directly in it with that inflow with this storm. So no active warnings for us. Still working on coordinating that tornado watch that will be coming out for several counties here. I don't know how many. They haven't given us the specifics on that. They haven't said how long this tornado watch is going to go through. Some of you were asking about a PDS watch. I don't believe this will be a particularly dangerous situation watch. That may come very likely later in the day, but not with this morning round here.
So Danny Campbell just said, I wish y'all could be on TV because I can't see the radar on here. We were just on TV. Actually, we did a cut in right around 2:20. We don't have any warnings at this time for parts of Alabama or Tennessee, but we continue to update here streaming. I don't know why you would have trouble seeing the radar. I do apologize, but the radar is up right now. And we were just on air. We gave a quick update. And if we do have to go on air full throttle with a tornado warning, we will certainly do that. We don't have any watches or warnings at this time issued for parts of Alabama or Tennessee, so we won't go on air until something starts to impact the area. But what we did about 15 minutes ago, we gave everybody a heads up into portions of Marion and also Franklin County that there is a tornado warned cell just over the state line. It would not make it to the Alabama state line till almost 3 o'clock, but certainly something that we're watching closely. It was stronger when it was to the west. As it continues to move to the east, it seems to be maybe not quite as tight of rotation, but still something that we're watching and still has a tornado warning, and therefore watching it very, very closely. We do have an update that there potentially will be a tornado watch issued for areas west of I-65. They have not coordinated that yet. I do not see that watch issued at this time, but it should be coming out shortly. And it does look like it's going to include Madison, Morgan, and Coleman, and then westward, and the 3 counties in Tennessee too. Once we get that, it'll provide the timeline, and they're watching to put that out. It does look like, Eric, they're going to include Madison and Morgan and Coleman in that for areas, and then areas west.
Well, it is easier probably to just include more counties. And watches, as you know, have the longer duration with this too. So they could go out several hours, just letting people know that conditions are favorable for potential tornadoes and severe thunderstorms too. So that is all being coordinated as we speak. And we'll get the details. Jeff was kind of giving you the quick rundown on it. We'll update that graphic too. But if you are in far southwest Franklin County right now, just, to be out ahead of this, if there is a tornado warning that is extended by the Weather Service in Huntsville, that is going to include you in parts of Franklin County. So you might hear the sirens go off. This is not, again, I'm not speaking for the Weather Service. I'm saying if they do extend it, that's what's going to happen too. A lot of lightning with that.
Yeah, a lot of lightning with that tornado warning cell, but a lot of you now picking up on the fact that you have thunder and lightning in the Florence Shoals, Waterloo area, Cherokee, and many of you asking if there's severe weather in your area. The storm and the rainfall that's happening in the Florence Shoals, Cherokee area, moving into Killen now, it's just thunderstorms. There's no severe thunderstorm warning there. There's no tornado warning for that particular area. What you have is just thunder, lightning, and rainfall. It's the storm cell it's the storm and the cell that is to the south that we're watching very closely that is tornado warned. But right now, it's just thunder, lightning, and rainfall for you. Maybe even a little bit of small hail moving through western Lauderdale County at this time, especially if you're in western areas of Florence up towards Zip City. Probably can see the lightning. It's dark outside, so very easy to see the lightning from a distance too. And that's probably what you're picking up on there.
Yep, just waiting for the watch to come out. Again, a lot of thunder, lightning moving into Lauderdale, Colbert County. But what we're watching really is going to be this cell right here. That is basically pushing just north of Amory and south-southeast of Tupelo. It's got a big surge in it too, but within that surge of wind, there could be potential spin-ups within that too. And this is that same parent storm that produced that confirmed tornado, very significant tornado from what I've seen on social media. Not sure about the damage reports there in Mississippi, but this is that same parent storm that did produce that tornado. Does it look the same as it did around midnight to 12:30 this morning? No, absolutely not. But this is still a very powerful, severe storm. Has a tornado warning on it. That tornado warning does go until 3 a.m. and goes right up to the state line of Marion County, Franklin County, and into parts of northeast Mississippi too.
And it looks like that tornado watch has been issued, Eric. I'm just going to update the graphic really quick. They put it out till 10 a.m. Central Time.
Okay.
I'm just going to update this really quick.
Tornado watch.
Just came out.
Yeah, and then the other two flipped their grounds.
So there's your tornado watch. It does include Madison County, Coleman County, Morgan County, Limestone County, all of our counties that watch us in Tennessee, Lawrence County, Marion County, Winston County, Colbert County, Lauderdale County, Franklin County, and it goes until 10 a.m. Central Time. This is round one of what will be 2 rounds of storms. Second round will come this afternoon and evening. But we have our first tornado watch, probably the first of what will likely be 2 separate tornado watches that are issued throughout the day. This first one will likely expire mid-morning, and then we'll probably have another one issued later in the day for all counties with the second round of storms that will happen later today into tonight.
Yep. So that's the latest on the watch. That's kind of a extended 7.5 hours that watch will be out. But Jeff doing a good job highlighting this is just the first watch of the day. We'll likely have 1 or 2 more tornado watches likely come out. Of course, we'll be the first to let you know. This stream will continue, and then we've got the newscast. Obviously, will be on television as well as needed if the situation warrants it too. But this storm right now in between Tupelo and Amory in Mississippi, it's heading more so toward Marion County. But if you're on the northern end of this, that would include you in Franklin County. Someone just asking if you need to seek shelter right now in Phil Campbell. You still have time. This is up until 3:30. So we're talking almost an hour lead time on this here too. We will let you know. And you'll notice a change in our voice as well. And we'll start saying, you need to seek shelter in this community. If you live near this specific roadway, now is the time to go to your safe spot. Friendly reminder, interior room, lowest level, away from windows. Closets, hallways, bathrooms, always good options. Some of you have nice spots under the stairs. That's always a good option. Just avoid windows at all costs, the lowest level of your home.
Yeah, another thing too is somebody just said that they wouldn't be under a watch. And that's not at all what we said. We figured there would be a watch for areas west of I-65. But just keep in mind, everybody, if your weather radio is going off right now, it is not a tornado in your backyard. It's not a warning. Tornado watch means that it's simply the conditions are favorable for some kind of tornado activity, and we have it till 10 a.m., the tornado watch. A warning means that it's time to seek shelter, and that's when you want to make sure you get to your safe place. We do not have a tornado warning at this time for parts of Alabama, though there is one that is right up to the state line, just west of you in Red Bay and Hamilton, but the cell itself is still about 50 minutes away from you. We're watching it very closely. You can see it there on the radar. I have it up. Again, a tornado watch has been issued through 10 a.m. for the counties in red. I'll zero in on our locations. It does not include areas east, but it includes up to Madison, Morgan, Coleman, all of our counties in Tennessee and areas west. Again, a watch just means if your weather radio is going off, that a watch just means that there's the chance for a tornado, that the conditions are favorable for one. It does not mean you have a tornado on the ground at your location right now. That would be a tornado warning. At this time, we do not have any warnings for Alabama. I'm going to go ahead and I want to zoom out for a little bit. And if you are up in the Muscle Shoals, Florence area, Killen, Zip City, even into Rogersville now, maybe even into Leicester and Lexington, you probably see some lightning and hear some thunder. I just want to emphasize there are 2 areas here that are taking place. This right here is just, I don't want that to happen. Eric went through the green screen on me.
I did, sorry.
That's all right. It's kind of cool. So this...
I'm going to do it again. Hang on. Yep. It's a nice triangle, though.
It's a nice triangle. So this area, this cluster right here in western Lauderdale County, that's just thunder, lightning, and some heavy rainfall with probably a little bit in the way of some small hail, I would imagine. But the area of concern obviously sticks out like a sore thumb, and that is off to the south, Tupelo. And that is where we're tracking a tornado warned cell with tremendous lightning. And that's why if you are in areas like Red Bay, Hamilton, Hackleburg, Phil Campbell, we're watching this closely. But when we put the timeline on it, it's still a good 45 minutes away from you. But you'll start to see the lightning and you'll hear the thunder. And that storm is the one that we're watching very closely. It has a history of producing a tornado. And obviously, if it maintains strength and continues tornado warnings into Alabama, we will go on air for that as well, in addition to streaming here online.
And just kind of give you this home base view. A lot of you are maybe watching this stream and saying, well, why are they streaming right now? It's very, very quiet at this time. Well, some of you in Northwest Alabama, Colbert and Lauderdale County in particular, a ton of lightning with this, very heavy rainfall, maybe some pea-size hail with that too, but nothing severe for us right now. That changes though if you're in Mississippi, maybe you're there in parts of Marion County. This is where we have that cell that has a history of producing a tornado, and it's going to kind of clip into the Fulton area there, just tracking off to the northeast. Going to put another storm track on it because we want to give you guys as much heads up as possible. Last check, it was moving at 45 miles per hour. We're going to go ahead and give you 50 miles per hour with this too. And this is going to be for Red Bay there, 312, Vina 313, Hodges 320, Hackleburg 324, Phil Campbell 334 a.m., and then eventually Russellville at 338. So you guys still have some time with this too, and it just depends on whether or not that warning is extended by the Weather Service in Huntsville. It is now just technically one county over from us. This is a nasty storm though. Could be producing some large hail with this. If we go to our hail tool and see the swath, but the actual hail is not showing up. But this is going to be producing hail no matter how you look at it. This is a very strong storm continuing to track to the north and east. So just to reiterate, tornado watch is now out. It goes until 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Jackson, Marshall, and DeKalb counties not in this first watch, but there is potential for seeing a watch down the road as we go through the late morning and then into the afternoon and evening rounds too. So that is the first watch. Jeff put this graphic out for you to show you. I know a lot of you are probably watching this on your phone. Here's your tornado watch. Well, that's an old graphic. We'll use the new graphic. There you go. That goes until 10 o'clock CDT here. So does not include Marshall, Jackson, DeKalb. Includes all of our Middle Tennessee counties: Madison, Morgan, Coleman, Limestone, Lawrence, Franklin, Colbert, Lauderdale. You all are under the watch. I just want to keep this up in case they...
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Nope, all good. But yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out with us. Many other ways I'd like to spend a Saturday morning with y'all, but this is the situation. 48 first alert weather day. Anyone just joining the stream, we just had a tornado watch come out. Maybe your phone went off. You got an alert on your 48 weather app, and you're just wondering what's going on. And no one right now needs to be seeking shelter. We have no active warnings for our area. Cannot stress that enough. We are watching a storm, though, that has a history of producing a pretty large tornado in Mississippi. Now, that was about 2 hours ago. This storm is going to enter an environment that is not as conducive to supporting that, but still some damaging winds, a ton of lightning, heavy rainfall, and the potential for large hail, all possible with this storm. More off to the south, though, and this is something that could start to kind of cut this off. That storm that is near Columbus, Mississippi, might be cutting off some of the inflow too. So it's actually good to have that storm to the south, as it could potentially cut off some of the moisture and those winds going into it. Now, there is still quite a bit of separation between these storms, but sometimes that's all it takes to really get that, any form of weakening too. So that tornado warning, again, goes until 3 o'clock, goes right up to the state line, Marion and Franklin counties. This is just off to your west and southwest.
What are the velocities on that, Eric? Does it look like a...
Get the dropper tool here. You know, it's more the rotation, I think, that they're watching. Obviously, a straight line wind threat. These will be strong winds, might not be 60 plus miles per hour, but very strong winds with that too. And it's right there. Yeah, it's kind of that, it's a big supercell essentially. Larger, yeah, right
in here.
there.
I'm going to go ahead, keep that circle. Now watch what I'm going to do, everybody. I'm going to put the velocity back up again. See that area right there?
Now that is starting to tighten up more than it was, and this is going through its storm cycles too. So if you take leave it on velocity there, and then use the cone storm track there.
This one.
Use the cone, and just take it right from that, and just go more aggressively northeasterly than you would, just in case it really just, about 50 miles per hour right there. Now this is the northern edge of this too.
Right.
So, but that's kind of no real change to that storm timeline that we just gave you. This is going to be 3 a.m. or later for anyone in our area. Red Bay, Vina, Hodges, Phil Campbell, up to Rockwood, and you've got Russellville eventually too. Now there is no debris on this that I see. The shear track has been very consistent, so this is just a persistent, and then you go to that shear rate, and you've got this area right here, and then that, lines up. Same thing Jeff just circled for you too. I'm not sure why GWX hail is not showing up, but then when you use the swath, it shows a huge swath.
There has got to be some kind of hail with that, I would imagine, even though that particular product isn't working, it seems like. But keep in mind, too, if you're just joining us right now, just to give you a quick recap, there's a tornado watch now for parts of Alabama, most of the counties, except for far eastern locations. If you're in Marshall, DeKalb, or Jackson, you're not included. It goes until 10 a.m. We do not have any tornado warnings at this time. There is a tornado warning in Mississippi right up to the state line. We're watching that cell very closely for areas like in Marion County, portions of Franklin County, and even up towards Colbert County. If you live in Red Bay, and I do believe we just have a tornado warning now across the state line, so Eric and I will have to go on air now at this point. You want to run green screen?
Well, that is Marion County. Does not include Franklin County. So this is coming from Birmingham now. I'm going to check the wording on that. And Weather Service pointing out, that storm is strengthening again. We'll have a cell tracking into southern Franklin County. Let me see what Birmingham said. Impressive radar signature, low-level rotation remains broad. So the hail threat on this is 1 3/4 inches. That's golf ball size hail. And then northeast at 40, radar indicated rotation. So that's what we're looking at. Again, no active warnings. Now, if you are in Marion County, you are now under a tornado warning, but I think they're basing that off the trend, Jeff, of a little bit of a more easterly movement to this too.
Yeah, to maybe take a little bit more of a right turn as it makes its way to the state line, which not good for areas in the track, but if you were just north of there, maybe steering it just a bit south of you, but it's still very close.
So again, this is in Mississippi, but you folks in Red Bay and parts of Franklin County, Russellville, Phil Campbell, you still got a bit, but watching this very, very closely here. So tornado watch through 10 o'clock. No active warnings for us in our imminent viewing area right now, but we do have this storm in Mississippi and now a tornado. There it is, Jeff.
Yep.
All right, we're going to have to go on TV. We're going to let the people in back know. And that tornado warning has just been issued. This includes Franklin County. You ready?
Yep.
All right.
You go one, I'll go tell her.
Yep.
When he tosses to me, problem is we're both on one right now, Eric.
Well, good Saturday morning, everyone. First Alert meteorologist Eric Burke alongside meteorologist Jeff Desnoyers on this Saturday morning. Today is a 48 First Alert weather day, and we have our first tornado warning of the morning. This is for you in West and Southwest Franklin County. So if you are in Rogersville right now, that's coming your way down the road here, but we're talking about Red Bay, Vina, Hodges, potentially Phil Campbell, and eventually Russellville too. So this tornado warning just issued by the National Weather Service. We do have a tornado watch for the area through 10 o'clock this morning, and we're tracking this storm right now coming out of Mississippi, moving east northeasterly. This has the potential of producing 1 3/4 inch hail. That is the size of a golf ball. We're expecting some very strong winds, and it has the potential of producing a tornado as well. Now, this storm right now has a history. Just after midnight through about 12:30 this morning in parts of Mississippi, this same parent storm produced a very large tornado. It is going through its cycles now, but continues to track to the north and east. So we're going to put a storm track on this, but we do have a new tornado warning, and that goes until 3:45. Just zooming in, this area of concern right now is here in between Fulton, and you just take a closer look. It's going to be this area right here, heading toward the Tremont area in Mississippi. Here is Marion County, technically not in our viewing area, but the tornado warning right now does include you in parts of Franklin County. I pointed out Red Bay, Vina, and Hodges. If you want to go ahead, you're maybe just waking up, you hear sirens, maybe your 48 First Alert weather app went off. This is the time to seek shelter now. Downstream of that, Russellville, Rockwood, and Phil Campbell right up 43 here. You are not in this warning, but this polygon may be extended. The movement on this cell is east northeasterly around 45 miles per hour. If you happen to lose power, we are streaming this exact coverage right now. It is on WAFF.com. It is on the WAFF News app. We are on YouTube as well as Facebook. So if you lose your TV signal at any time, the rest of the area and no one else needs to be seeking shelter other than you folks in Red Bay, Vina, Hodges, parts of western and southwestern Franklin County here in northwest Alabama. This tornado warning goes until 3:45 here this morning, and this is probably going to be the first of many tornado warnings as we go through the day. This is essentially this morning round of storms that we were questioning whether or not this would actually happen and these storms would become severe. We are expecting additional waves or rounds of severe storms as we go through the late morning, afternoon, and evening hours. Now that we've got this, I could give you that storm track. This is moving northeasterly around 45 miles per hour, and we're just going to extend this out and give you as much lead time as possible with this. So I'm going to go 48 here. So this is near Vina here at 318. Hodges will be 324. You've got Rockwood at 338, 340 for Phil Campbell, 343 for Crooked Oak, and Russellville there at 343. So this storm is producing a tremendous amount of cloud-to-ground lightning. You need to be seeking shelter here in far western, southwestern Franklin County, and eventually we'll start talking about you folks in Russellville and Phil Campbell. This storm has slowed down as far as its actual movement. With this, there is obviously potential for a tornado to develop. This parent storm, like I mentioned, has a history of producing a large, violent tornado in Mississippi. To pull back the view, some of you might be joining us here in Colbert County as well as Lauderdale County. I'm going to turn on the lightning here just to show you. This is not severe, but it is very loud. Just because the storm is producing a lot of lightning does not mean that this is a severe storm. But if you're in the Quad Cities, Tuscumbia, Sheffield, Florence, Muscle Shoals, if you're in that area, if you're out there in Waterloo, very noisy, but not necessarily severe. The storm that we are tracking right now, the tornado warned storm here, is in Mississippi, and this is including Marion County in that tornado warning, as well as Franklin County, two separate polygons because these are two separate National Weather Service offices. Jeff, anything new coming in on the chat right now?
No, just that the tornado warning was issued for portions that you mentioned of northern Marion County, also the southern Franklin County, but there's also 1.5 inch diameter hail with this as well. And so there's another element of severe weather. And I imagine there's some pretty strong gusty winds too. And not only that, but very heavy rainfall. So you have two different areas that we're watching for the potential of thunderstorm activity. It's not just for areas where we have the tornado warning. And what I could do, if we could take the graphics on too, that would be fantastic. But areas up into Lauderdale County, as Eric mentioned, it's a light show up in Muscle Shoals right now. Look at all the lightning strikes in Waterloo, Florence, up into areas into Tennessee now. If you are waking up this morning and you're in the Florence, Shoals, Tuscumbia area and you hear all this thunder and you see this lightning, you have a tremendous amount of rain and you do have thunderstorms in your area right now. But the bigger concern right now is off to the south. And this is an area, we've been tracking this cell since about 1230. It was west of I-55 in Mississippi in the Grenada area. It had a very, very signature debris signature with it. And it looked like it was producing not just a tornado, but a very strong tornado. And as it continues to move north and east, it's still producing some rotation. Hence, the tornado warning has now crossed over into Alabama. And that's why we're on air and we're tracking this very closely. As we mentioned, if you live in areas like Red Bay or if you live in Phil Campbell, we got you. We're keeping you updated right now. We're tracking this as it crosses the state line, Eric.
Yeah, and actually, if you are in Red Bay, you're technically not in the tornado warning, but you'll be on the northern end of this storm here, and there still is that threat of ping pong ball size hail, 1.5 inch diameter, along with very strong winds, frequent cloud to ground lightning. But right now, if you're in Vina and Hodges, you need to be seeking shelter. This storm is still over the state line here, but we want to give you as much of that early heads up as possible. Into Hackleburg here, Rockwood, Phil Campbell, up to Russellville there behind this banner. But it's right here, this area near Tremont, Mississippi. This is Interstate 22, if you've ever driven that out to Fulton here and tracking to the northeast. Pull back the view. This is going to be, if there is a tornado, it is going to be rain wrapped, and there's no way you're going to be able to see this, maybe with the amount of lightning, but we just encourage you, avoid windows at all costs. Vina, Hodges, again, into your room, lowest level of your home, avoid the windows, and just seek shelter. Red Bay just outside of that polygon here, Russellville as well, and also Phil Campbell, Hackleburg in Marion County here. And this tornado warning goes until 3:45. It's 2:56 right now on your Saturday morning. If we look at your shear rate here, it's going to be in this area where we're seeing that rotation, that velocity tool right here. Get that to come up. It's not looking, this storm has gone through many cycles here. We mentioned that it produced that large tornado with the debris signature that Jeff was pointing out. That was just after midnight, about midnight to 12:30 here this morning, and that was well to our west and southwest. But this storm has kept together, but it has gone through several cycles where it strengthens and then it starts to weaken. You'll see that area of rotation starting to broaden out here. Tornado warning goes until 3:45. You can see that at the bottom of your screen here. And this is for Franklin County. Just to take a closer look at these areas. Again, this is still in Mississippi that we're tracking, but it is coming east-northeast, moving a little bit slower as well. I think the last speed on that was about 30 miles per hour. But here's Vina, here's Hodges. This is in Franklin County in northwest Alabama. You've got the Atwood community as well. And just zooming in on some of these roads that will likely be affected here. Here's Highway 23. You've got County Road 123. This is coming your way, Highway 11 there. And then you've got Highway 27 that goes up there to connect with Highway 172. And then there is State Highway 19 coming out of Marion County in parts of Franklin County. So this storm is the first tornado warned storm that we have for our area. A lot of you in northeast Alabama, Sand Mountain, this is very far away from you, but this is just kind of scratching the surface of what this day may entail with multiple rounds. This is going to be a long duration, severe weather event for us here in the Tennessee Valley, the entire state of Alabama, and a good portion of the deep south here, all the way down to the Gulf Coast too. So a day you just have to stay weather aware. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive those warnings as they are issued if you happen to lose power. On top of this, if you're east of this, everyone dealing with wind gusts, just general gradient winds, exceeding 40 miles per hour. So we could potentially see power outages associated with those gradient winds before we start dealing with these severe wind gusts. Now, I'm going to try my hail tool one more time. I was having some issues picking up on this earlier, not showing any hail. But if you go to the hail swath, notice how far west that goes, tracking in that northeasterly direction. So this storm is definitely producing hail. The wording on the warning here for parts of Franklin and Marion County, this is ping pong ball size hail, that is golf ball size hail. But at that point, anything over 1 inch in diameter, about the size of a quarter, is considered severe hail. And that could cause damage. That could cause damage to vehicles. That could cause damage to siding of your home. It could even shatter your windows at times. And now that hail swath is starting to expand, going right up to the state line now between northwest Alabama and parts of northeast Mississippi. Jeff?
Yeah, I got the Shoals camera up on too, and just tremendous lightning in the Shoals right now. Tremendous lightning in portions of Lauderdale County and then up into Tennessee, into Lawrence County as well. Again, that area is not a severe thunderstorm, but still producing some heavy rainfall, vivid lightning, and probably woke you up because it's probably pretty loud. Now, when it comes to the warning, we already talked about the warning Eric was just mentioned, but the watch has been issued for our area. Tornado watch for areas that you see mainly to the west of us. Areas Madison County into Coleman County, back into Limestone. It includes all of our counties in Tennessee. Now, if you're east, you're not in the tornado watch. It goes till 10 a.m. Please keep in mind, this is round one of thunderstorms that are producing strong to severe storms. There'll be another round, probably a more impactful area of concern later this afternoon and evening. And this will probably be the first of what will likely be 2 tornado watches for the Tennessee Valley at some point today. I'm going to take you back to the radar really quick, and I'm going to let you know that the different areas of thunderstorms that we have. The one that is severe that's producing the tornado warning, that is just to the southwest of Russellville, still in Mississippi, but crossing over and going to the north and east. That particular cell right now is the one that is tornado warned. But all the lightning strikes that you see up in the Shoals, that's with this cell right here. I'll put the lightning in, and you can see how many lightning strikes we have at this time. I want to take you to the west, though, because off to the west, not into Alabama, portions of northern Mississippi, another cluster of heavy rain and also dangerous lightning. And anytime you see that many lightning strikes with a cluster of thunderstorms, that tells me that the cells are strengthening off to the west. So you have 3 distinct areas that we're watching, but obviously, Eric, it's the tornado warned area that we're watching closely enough.
Yeah, some excellent points there. Looking at the rotation and just how this storm, has gone through those cycles, the rotation is starting to broaden out a bit. It's starting to weaken, which is good. But another side of this storm, even with the weakening area of rotation, notice how we had the reds and the pinks very tight together when we first came on air. That was what prompted the tornado warning to be issued for you in Franklin County and also Marion County. It's going to be the rainfall rates, and the rainfall rates with this could be in excess of 2 to 3 inches per hour. So even if we don't see this tornado threat continuing to develop as this tracks to the northeast, there's the potential here of seeing flash flooding happening, especially if this cluster of very heavy rain and severe storms at the moment, if that starts to slow down, we're going to look at dumping rainfall here through parts of Franklin County into Colbert County, as well as Lawrence County, depending on the movement of this. Good indication here regarding that rotation. It doesn't look nearly as organized as it did initially. This area right here, just north and east of Tremont, if you just look at the velocity, how that lines up, it's right there tracking northeast, but it doesn't look as clean and as tight at the lower levels. And we're getting a good look at this storm too off the radar site there in Columbus, Mississippi. But if you're just joining us, again, tornado warning in effect for 3:45 for Franklin County. Red Bay, you're just outside of this, but Vina and Hodges, those are the 2 communities along with the Atwood community here in Franklin County. And then we've got 43 here. Here's Phil Campbell, Rockwood, up to Russellville. This is a tornado warned storm, just radar indicated, and that radar indicated rotation is continuing to weaken. This will also produce hail. whether or not it's 1 inch in diameter or larger. The wording on the warning is for 1.5 to 1.75 inch diameter hail. That is severe hail, and we're also going to have a ton of wind moving with this, along with torrential rainfall. So even though the rotation has broadened out a bit, this is going to be rain wrapped. If this does produce a tornado at any point, you will not see this. Tons of lightning. And that's something that's going to be a very consistent theme through the day, is how electrical these storms are going to be. We've got temperatures now over parts of North Alabama in the 60s and 70s. We've got a dew point in the 60s, and that's really all it takes. Now I'm going to take the lightning off. Just want to show you that these storms are in fact producing a ton of lightning. We're going to go here into northwest Alabama. This is Lauderdale County here, then going up into Wayne County in Tennessee. Tons of cloud-to-ground lightning with this. Look at how frequent that is, just the concentration of that lightning. This is not severe. Might be producing some smaller hail, some gusty winds, but not severe. Warned, they don't even have a weather statement out on that. So if you're in Florence, the Quad Cities, Muscle Shoals, Tuscumbia, Sheffield, that's what you're going to be hearing, is likely this, but that is not severe. You guys are not under a warning. This tornado warning continues for Franklin County, Marion County, and a few counties there in Mississippi. Jeff?
Yeah, Eric, you talked about the hail. I wanted to put the hail up to show people. You mentioned, I don't think that it's picking up on the hail quite as well as it should, but right in here. So here's Florence right here, right? And this little gray right here shows some hail popping with those storms to the north. Now keep in mind, again, Eric said there's not any kind of warning on these cells at all. It's just lightning, thunder, and very heavy rainfall. And though a concern, it wakes you up and obviously can be very intimidating at night, not a warned cell. But look at all the hail that we have south with that tornado warned cell. So there's the potential hail size. It's now crossing the state line and just south of you in Red Bay, right along I-22. And that's where we're picking up probably more in that way of that 1.5 inch size hail as it crosses the state line, in addition to the heavy rain, in addition to the potential for a tornado. And this is the most active part of the cluster of storms that we have at this time, now getting ready to cross over the Alabama state line. And so if you're in Hackleburg, or if you're in areas along 43 from Hamilton to Hackleburg, obviously watching this very closely. The storm itself moving off to the northeast, and I think you said, Eric, what, 45 miles per hour?
I think it's down to about 35 miles.
now,
so
it's
it is
hit the
slowing
brakes.
down.
Yeah.
Not to be overlooked, the hail potential with this storm, and also the gusty winds, the lightning, and I mentioned those rainfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour. The trend with this regarding the rotation that prompted the tornado warning, that is a good trend. We're not seeing as much rotation. So that's good news for you folks there in Vina and Hodges. Still under a tornado warning, but this is going to produce some hail here. I'm going to go back to the radar, and I'm going to put an extended storm track on this just to show you folks downstream with that slower movement of the speed. And that's where the flash flooding concern starts to come in too. So we're going to go right here, and we're going to take this off to the northeast about, we'll go 37 miles per hour here, just to include a few more towns. So Belmont here, 3:18 a.m., Red Bay there, 3:19, Vina is 3:22, Hodges 3:30, Hackleburg 3:36, Rockwood 3:49, Crooked Oak 3:55. Now we're getting into the 4 a.m. hour there in Littleville. You've got Russellville there at 3:56. Didn't mean to skip over you, but the most imminent threat right now, I would say, is that large hail threat that Jeff was mentioning right along I-22 and the state line there, moving into Marion County in northwest Alabama. And then the tornado warning is for you in Franklin County. Severe wind gusts, frequent cloud-to-ground lightning, just very, very strong storm, not necessarily looking tornadic like it was when we initially came on air. And I'm never going to complain about a lack of tornadic activity here. Looking at the shear rate tool, and we don't even have that strong. When you see the maroon showing up within the greens, this is getting far more disorganized. So it might actually be moving into an area that is a bit more stable compared to the environment it was working with farther off to the west and southwest, showing the weakening of that rotation. So that is a good indication, but still some very strong winds with this. We could actually use the dropper tool here and just see what kind of winds this is potentially producing. These aren't necessarily severe or at the surface, but strong winds and the potential for large hail with this moving into Marion as well as Franklin County. And the tornado warning continues. It goes until 3:45, and this just includes you here in Franklin County. That is our warning Marion County. That's covered by the Birmingham TV market as well as the Weather Service in Birmingham, and they're probably going to drop this warning here in Mississippi. But this is just a ton of rainfall, frequent cloud to ground lightning, threats for heavy rainfall across the area, potential for flash flooding is really going to start to develop. If you're in Franklin County, that flash flooding threat, other than the hail and the wind and the lightning right now, that flooding threat might be the most imminent concern right now. You could see some rises in creeks, streams, and rivers. And I've worked here. I remember one flooding event in particular between Vina and Hodges there, water over the roadways. That was impressive. If you're in a low-lying area or just an area that typically floods when you see a lot of heavy rain in a short amount of time, this is the storm that's going to produce that right here crossing over the state line from Mississippi into these counties. Jeff?
Yeah, Eric, I just want to go back. I put the track up, the track from that storm. And when you are on watching and you see Eric put this track up and you see it go out to Littleville by 4:12 a.m. And if you're east of that area, like somebody asked, can you take it all the way to Decatur? I can't even take it out that far, just because what happens is, look at the timing on this. So if you're 401 Russellville and you're 410 Littleville, that's almost an hour away. So you see with the storm moving at 35 miles per hour, if you are east of this potential cone that I just put up there, you still have until almost 5 o'clock before the storm gets there. And what can happen to that storm before it gets to you? There could be a number of things. It could weaken a bit and become more of a rain and wind event with lightning like we have up in Florence and the Shoals right now. Or it could strengthen, and that's what we're here for. This is what we call like nowcasting. We're just trying to keep you safe, and we're watching this very closely. But the trend, as Eric mentioned, was to see it maybe back off just a little bit. But got to keep an eye on this, and this is the reason why we keep updates coming on air and online, Eric.
Yep, back to the radar here. Heavy rain, hail threat, strong winds. Going back to the velocity here, it almost looks like we're kind of seeing a bit of a bowing segment. So it's not that tight surface rotation that would indicate a potential tornado. But with this weak bowing feature here, that would increase your threat for seeing some damaging straight line wind gusts here. Still those same areas that I've been pointing out the most, the Vina and Hodges area. Eventually this will track toward you and Phil Campbell. You've got the Atwood community in there, Russellville. Here's 43. Red Bay, your wind threat probably increasing even though you're not technically in this tornado warning. But this is going to be a big surge of wind and also hail. Going back to the hail product, Jeff was showing it to you. You look at the swath of hail and it was more intense farther to the west, but any hail whatsoever will continue to track to the north and east with it. Now this is going to be south of you in Red Bay here, but this is starting to cross over that state line into Marion County as well as far west and southwest Franklin County. So hail expected with this, a ton of rainfall, frequent cloud to ground lightning. This is definitely a strong storm, but the rotation that prompted the tornado warning, that doesn't look as concerning as it was. So just to pull back the view here, again, this is our lone tornado warning at this time, probably the first of many that will be issued for our area today. You look at the big picture, there's a lot of heavy rain coming behind this too. So it's not just this one and done with this big cluster, this parent storm that produced that tornado earlier. Behind that, now we're starting to see a lot more heavy rainfall. And this is one of those threats that is often overlooked, is that flash flooding threat. Farther to the north, you go into parts of north central Mississippi from Holly Springs. This storm is essentially going to cut off a lot of that moisture, but those storms will continue to track to the northeast. If you're up there in Wayne County, you've got Lawrence County, Giles County. That's just a lot of heavy rain and lightning right now, maybe some smaller hail. I know in particular there in parts of Wayne County. But watching this very closely as it's potentially producing straight line winds right now, large hail over 1 inch in diameter. This is all going to continue to track. Tornado warning, like I mentioned, for Franklin County until 3:45 a.m. Strong winds right now, right through Vina into Hodges. And that's going to probably be your biggest concern right now. Those areas you are under a tornado warning, I would encourage you to be on the lowest level of your home, interior room, away from windows, just in case we get any debris. And also the large hail potential with this can also shatter some windows depending on what direction that hail is actually falling. and then a lot of times it doesn't fall straight down. You get more of a sideways effect with that hail. Up here in Red Bay, some strong winds, potential for hail, very heavy rainfall with this, and a ton of cloud-to-ground lightning. This is probably just one of those booming thunderstorms moving in. And it's not just the thunder you're hearing, you're probably hearing the wind and the hail hitting your roof right now if you are in these two communities. The rotation doesn't look nearly as impressive as it did, but looking at that little line here, that's likely straight line winds now tracking to the northeast. So eventually we'll hit you in the Rockwood, Phil Campbell, Russellville area. But as far as the initial rotation, that's not as tight as it was. It's probably going through one of its cycles. But I'm not saying that this storm, as it continues to move to the north and east, won't start to strengthen again, because it's done that over the past 2 hours, essentially, since midnight and even a little earlier than that. This storm was a lot stronger, but this is still certainly packing a punch and will be impactful. Some of you potentially losing power here with some of these strong winds and the large hail threat. Jeff?
Yeah, Eric, what I did on the rotation, or what I did on the radar showing the rotation of that storm. So I went ahead with the radar here and I popped it for like 2 hours. Okay, so what I wanted to do was, first, I wanted to show you that cluster of lightning and that thunderstorm that's produced a tornado all the way back towards I-55 in Mississippi, still a tornado-warned cell at this time. Look at all the lightning with it. But I wanted to show you the big picture of how much coverage has expanded in the last 2 hours. When I came into work about 11:30, just before midnight, it was this one little isolated cell that was packing a punch in portions of western Mississippi. That's the cell now that's moving across the state line in Alabama. But look at all the other thunderstorm activity that we have to the north and northwest. Tremendous lightning, heavy rainfall. But the one thing that I'm getting, many of you that are in Lauderdale County and then up towards Lawrence County in Tennessee, don't be confused that you're not in the tornado warning. You are in a tornado watch, but you're not in the warning. The storms near you are just mainly rainmakers with a lot of lightning and thunder, certainly waking you up with a little small hail. The tornado warned cell is to the south, and there's more storms off to the west too. And when I want to go down to the south, and Eric brought up a good point with this, we're tracking this one particular cell. You go all the way down to Columbus, Mississippi, and that is surging north as well. And that has a tremendous amount of lightning and probably strengthening. And as this all starts to merge together, this could become just one big wall of wind and rain as it moves north and east, and we'll still be tracking the potential for some spin-up tornadoes with it, or maybe even some stronger tornadoes as it moves north and east. Hopefully that trend will back off and we can focus more on the rain, the wind, and the hail as it moves closer into the Tennessee Valley, Eric.
And I don't want anyone to get confused at home right now, because we're forecasting almost an entire day of strong to severe storms. This is just the beginning of it. This is that morning round that we weren't entirely sure if this morning round would actually pan out. If we have that cap in place, looks like the cap is eroding just a little bit. If you're just turning on the TV, tornado warning continues here for Franklin and Marion County until 3:45. The rotation that prompted the warning is not as concerning as it was, but there's still a ton of wind with this. There's the threat of hail up to 1.5 inches in diameter. That is the size of a ping pong ball, and this is producing incredible rainfall rates and a ton of lightning. If you look at that, all concentrated right here along the county line of Franklin and Marion County in northwest Alabama. Here's Vina, here's Hodges, some strong winds here, but the rainfall threat is going to start to ramp up too. Just turning off the lightning, because it does tend to be a little bit on the distracting side. It almost looks like the storm behind it now is going to start to develop another hail core, some strong winds with that. That, I would think, would probably have a severe thunderstorm warning coming out on that. That's between Memphis and Birmingham to coordinate that. But it just shows you, as we put this on a loop here and you play this over where the storm has been, it's not moving all that fast. There's your severe thunderstorm warning now for almost all of Marion County. The timing on that, if I can get, I'll have to stop it here. So the severe thunderstorm warning does go until 4 a.m. Again, if you do happen to lose power, we are streaming this exact same coverage. It's not only on your television, it's on the WAFF News app. It is on WAFF.com, and we are streaming on YouTube as well. Now there's a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm guessing the winds on that, probably 60+ miles per hour, potential for large hail too. So that is the southern end of this here. They have dropped their tornado warning. It looks like now the only active tornado warning is for you in the Atwood, Vina, Hodges area. This does not include 43 there, at least the Franklin County portion of 43, so not you in Russellville or Phil Campbell. But if you are in those communities that I just mentioned, you've got straight line wind potential coming with this. You've got large hail, a lot of lightning, very, very heavy rainfall, all with this storm right here. I want to go back to the shear tool just to see if I'm missing anything. It doesn't look, the part of the storm that we would be looking for that rotation, that's not showing up like it was. But you still have some very strong winds with this all coming down, all that rain, thunder, lightning, and the larger hail threat too. Jeff?
Yeah, Eric, National Weather Service right on board with what you're talking about, how the area is more of a broad rotation now, and that's why they've channeled it to a severe thunderstorm warning as opposed to a tornado warning. And also mentioned by Katie McGee over the National Weather Service in Huntsville that the flood threat, the very heavy rainfall with this too, and that's often overlooked with storms. We focus so much on the tornadoes, and also we focus so much on the large hail and the damaging winds, but the rainfall too is very, very impressive with these storms, not just this morning, but will be this afternoon and evening. Also a report from emergency management, quarter-size hail reported in the Hodges area. So the graphic I have now for you, the tornado watch, it was issued about a half hour ago, goes until 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time for the counties in red. Notice the areas east are not in the tornado watch. I want to emphasize that you are not out of the woods with severe weather today. Severe weather is going to happen 2 times, this morning and again this afternoon and evening. There will likely be numerous tornado watches issued for our area. Remember that a watch means that it's just conducive to have tornadoes. It doesn't mean that you are in a warning. You don't have one happening at that moment. With that said, we have a tornado warning as well. And that tornado warning is for areas now turned into, looks like it's all now a severe thunderstorm warning. I know there's still a little tornado warning there into portions of Franklin County. But what you're seeing is the threat for the strongest cell crossing over the Alabama line right now with the potential for heavy rain, large hail. And even though it's broad rotation, it has had a history of a tornado when it was in Mississippi, and it doesn't mean that it might not be just going through its cycling, and we could see it strengthen as it gets a little bit closer to 43, though the tornado warning, I do believe, was just allowed to expire, Eric, and now it's just a big old broad area of severe thunderstorm warnings, which would I would imagine would be for the hail and also for the damaging winds, and keep in mind the very heavy rainfall that's moving along I-43 right now.
Yeah, and you saw that just drop off Jeff's screen, this polygon right here, tornado warning has been canceled and replaced with that larger severe thunderstorm warning here. And that goes until 4:15. And this is for, what's the size of the hail, Jeff? Is it 1.25 inches?
Inch and a quarter. And then there was a report of quarter-size hail in Hodges by emergency management as well.
And you folks in Franklin County had that storm on Thursday that dumped all of that hail too. So this is your second significant hail event here in Franklin County in the span of 48 hours. A quarter-size hail, that is severe hail. So the severe thunderstorm warning, I know the tornado warning has expired, but we still have possibly 60-mile-per-hour winds. So, Jeff, I don't see any point at this point of the morning to hop off air right now. Again, we are streaming this. At some point here in maybe 5 to 10 minutes, depending on what we're seeing on the radar, we might get off your television and we'll go back solely to that stream. We're going to continue to pop on as needed here. Anything concerning, we will let you know, of course, on air. Probably got that alert for a tornado watch that came out and probably woke a lot of you up and said, hey, what's going on? Well, that was the tornado watch. Now that goes all the way until 10 a.m. We had our initial tornado warning, and that was for that storm that came out of Mississippi. Several times this morning on air and on that stream this morning, we said we think this environment here over North Alabama is a bit more stable than what this storm was initially dealing with and working with as far as energy instability in Mississippi. So that same parent storm that produced a tornado in Mississippi around midnight and earlier this morning, that was exactly what prompted the warning here in Franklin County. Now we've just got a threat as it's not as organized. There's not the rotation showing up, but still potential for 60+ mile-per-hour straight line winds. There's going to be large hail with this. Confirmed report from emergency management there that they've received quarter-size hail, but it could be even larger than that. There's a ton of lightning and the rain threat. If this slows down anymore, very likely we could see 2 inches of rainfall here in about 30 minutes, and that will lead to a threat for flash flooding. We do have a flood watch, correct, Jeff?
Yeah, it kicks in at 7 a.m. and goes until 1 a.m. Sunday. But obviously the rain threat happening probably a little bit faster here because that is some soaking rain that's falling with those storms right now. And you mentioned the slow movement. You get what we call training, or where you have multiple storms go over one area moving so slowly, it can easily prompt flash flooding.
Yeah, those training storms, and think of a train on tracks where one goes over, another one goes over. That is what a training thunderstorm is. To reset the view, most of you having a nice, quiet Saturday morning, all things considered. We've got strong winds out of the south and southwest, gusting 30 to 40 miles per hour. Those are general gradient winds. We've got a bit of rainfall starting to spread out along parts of Middle Tennessee, along the state line too. You guys are pretty quiet here into northeast Alabama. This is the action, though, that is starting to build up. And then look what's behind it. If you go out to Tupelo there in Mississippi, there is a ton more rainfall. And this is a question that kept popping up on our Facebook stream as far as questions of if we see this initial round, does anything get rain cooled and we don't see anything for the rest of the day? Well, that's a very unlikely scenario. I think once this round of rain and storms pushes through, we've got a morning newscast starting at 5 a.m. until 7 a.m. Cut-ins through the Today Show. We'll continue the stream going, of course. But this morning round is going to push through. We'll probably see a break in activity. But if we see any sunshine or even just some warmer temperatures in the 70s, that just kind of primes the pump, if you will, for what we're anticipating to develop by late morning into the afternoon and evening. A lot of the models are showing very different scenarios as far as when these storms initiate, when they continue. There's a chance with the afternoon round that really bad storms start firing up to our south into central Alabama and we get choked off. There is still that scenario that could pan out. I still have pretty high confidence in additional rounds of severe weather moving in through late morning, through the afternoon. Severe weather threat for most of us will wrap up around 9 or 10 this evening. Focusing on Franklin County here, a lot of wind with this, potential for 60+ mile per hour wind gust. Just showing you the hail swath. This is going to be, I don't know why that button's not working, but that hail swath continues to push. And this is right where we got that report of the 1-inch diameter hail, that severe hail tracking to the northeast. So this is heading toward you in Russellville. Phil Campbell, here's 43. Vina, Hodges, Atwood. You guys are most at risk right now. Red Bay, not leaving you out. You probably have some strong winds and some very heavy rainfall with this, but the earlier tornado warning has been replaced now with a severe thunderstorm warning. And if I'm going ahead of myself here, probably a flash flood warning coming out here with this if we continue to see just this so slow movement. This just slammed on the brakes essentially once it hit the state line. Like there was some kind of invisible barrier. It is still moving, yes, but there's a lot of that rainfall behind it too. So that flooding threat is going to start to ramp up here. Rainfall rates, I'd estimate probably 2 or 3 inches per hour. And there is a lot more of that rainfall here behind it into Mississippi, tracking to the northeast. So most of you not under any severe conditions at the moment, including Colbert, Lauderdale, as well as Lawrence County. You've got some rain, some lightning, and some wind there, but this is the only severe storm we have at this time. Jeff?
Yeah, Eric, think about it. When we first came in, that storm was moving at about 55 miles per hour, and you said it hit the proverbial brakes when it hit the state line. It's down to 35 miles per hour, and that's what is a bad combination when you have heavy rainfall with the thunderstorms with a slow-moving system. I'm going to take you hour by hour because there's a lot of confusion. I'm watching some of the comments on Facebook, and if you're east of I-65, you're asking, like, where are the storms? I thought they were going to happen overnight. They are happening, but they're west of I-65 right now. The storms still have to move to the east. So this is the hour by hour at 3 o'clock. The cluster of storms is off to the west. As we go through the morning hours and we get to about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, notice that line moves to the east. Question is, how strong will it be? Probably some very heavy rain, some gusty winds, and some dangerous lightning. Still can't rule out the threat for any kind of tornadic activity. We've already seen a tornado warning issued for parts of our area, though we do not have one right now. We still have a tornado watch that's issued to the area for 10 a.m. for areas mainly Madison County, Coleman County, and areas west. If you're in Sand Mountain or Lookout Mountain, you do not have a tornado watch at this time. By the time we get to 8 o'clock in the morning, Most of the thunderstorm activity is lifting off to the north and east. It's still heavy rainfall. It's still gusty winds at this point. And remember, the tornado watch goes until 10, and right about 10 o'clock is when everything lifts north. And I'm telling you, there's going to be people that go outside around 11 o'clock in the noontime hour, and they're going to be like, what happened? If you are east of I-65 and you're in DeKalb or Jackson County or even Marshall County, at this point, you really haven't had much. And you're thinking, okay, I'm in the clear and I'm good to go. Watch what happens to these temperatures in the early afternoon, spiking up areas east into the upper 70s to near 80. You're building your dew points up too. They're going higher at this point, and here comes round two. Don't let your guard down. If you feel like you miss out on the rain and storms this morning, round two will come this afternoon, and it will likely play out to be a stronger, more impactful cluster of storms, and therefore more widespread severe weather is expected. Still have the threat for tornadoes, damaging winds, heavy rainfall. By the time we get to 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, much of the Tennessee Valley is dealing with some kind of thunderstorms and severe weather. That threat will start to wind down for areas west by about 7 p.m. And then as we move into the 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock hour, areas east will actually start to lose the severe weather threat. And by the time we go into the afternoon hours on Sunday, it's just mainly an isolated shower or storm, non-severe, and overall a better day on Sunday. And hopefully by the time we wake up Sunday morning, we pray for the best and hope that there's not a widespread damage across the area. But Sunday will be a day that if there is, it'll be a day you could probably get out there and get some stuff done. But hopefully we won't have to deal with that, Eric.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Again, severe thunderstorm warning continues. Think that goes until 4 o'clock. Threat of large hail with this, wind gusts 60 plus miles per hour, and a ton of lightning. Heavy rainfall continues to be a threat. I'm going to put a storm track on this, and I'm not seeing anything right now that would warrant us continuing to stay on your television. So we're going to go back to our stream here in 1 second. I just want to put the storm track on this to show people downstream kind of an estimated arrival time of these winds and that hail threat. This is moving. We're going to go about 40 miles per hour just to give you a bit more town and coverage here. So out to Cherokee at 346. You've got Rockwood there, 347. Phil Campbell, 348. Russellville, 354. Littleville just after 4 a.m. now. We've got 407 Central Heights as well as Tuscumbia, 410 Muscle Shoals. We get into the Quad Cities there, Sheffield, Muscle Shoals, Florence, McFarland Park in that area too. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning. Wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour possible. Potential for 1 inch or larger hail. I think the wording on the warning is 1.25 inches. This is dumping torrential rainfall right now, and it is also producing frequent cloud to ground lightning, although a little less lightning right now. Our neighbors to the north of Franklin County into Colbert as well as Lauderdale up there into Lawrence County, ton of lightning with that. That is not a severe storm, maybe some pea-sized hail, but this is our only warning right now. We have a tornado watch in effect for most counties, with the exception being Jackson, DeKalb, and Marshall counties. You may be put under a watch later today or even an extension of this one, but not under that tornado watch currently. Everyone else under a tornado watch through 8 a.m. Do not forget, we've got a newscast starting at 5 o'clock, but for now, for meteorologist Jeff Desnoyers and myself, meteorologist Eric Burke, we're going to go over to our live stream. You can find us on the WAFF 48 Facebook page. You can find us on YouTube, as well as our website, WAFF.com, and I believe we're also on our WAFF News app. Thank you for your time. Again, we'll continue to cut into programming as needed if the situation warrants.
This has been a 48 First Alert Weather Day update.
Those of you who are still watching,
you need to stream is dark, element 8 to weather 48 to that one, and then weather 48.
1 minute, you just do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weather 48 to max. All right, we are aware. There it is. There it is.
Now you
All
can
right,
see-
we are back.
So what we have to do, everybody, when we're on air, we have to switch a few buttons technically so you can actually hear us while we're on air because it's a different stream. So we just went back to what we were doing, and now you can see the radar and everything's back. And I'm going to get back to talking about what's going on right now, the severe thunderstorm warnings that are in portions of Marion County and also into portions of Franklin County. And let me get my max one up. There we go. All right, let me get the radar back up too.
Yeah, the people on the stream couldn't see the over-air feed. Maybe that fixed it right now, but it should just be
Automatic, right? Yeah,
unless you go weather 48 goes to.
yeah. All right, everybody. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect. So if you were in Russellville, let me zoom in a little bit more on this because this is an area of concern, not just for all the lightning and also the potential for strong gusty winds and large hail, but very heavy rainfall, stretching from Russellville all the way back south of Red Bay, moving into Phil Campbell here shortly. If you live along 43 in the Rockwood area, very heavy rainfall and probably some decent sized hail too, probably inch diameter hail. Same in Phil Campbell, some heavy rain in your vicinity. This is all moving off to mainly the east-northeast at this point. So if you live in Hatton or if you live in Moulton, heavy rainfall coming your way, probably some very gusty winds too. Put the velocity up and see if we can find some winds here with these. Yeah, about 50. This is actually pretty close to the radar site. So I would imagine that 50 is probably pretty accurate right about there. You got some more wind. So, some winds about 40, maybe up to 60 miles an hour. And that's all in mainly the Russellville area. South into the Phil Campbell area. That's where we're seeing some of the strongest winds right now. I'm going to back out on this a little bit. Just kind of reset where we're at. If you're east of I-65, you haven't really had much in the way of anything so far except for a few little sprinkles. If you're west of I-65, especially closer to the state line, you've been dealing with some heavy rainfall. We actually had a tornado warning at one point for parts of Franklin County, Marion County. And then as we go north up to Florence, the Shoals, you had a big time cluster of thunderstorms in your area. That is now lifted north and east, moving towards Pulaski now. There's still more in the way of heavy rainfall into Mississippi, but that's all it is right now. It's mainly just rain, lightning, and thunder. Continues to move to the north and east. What's becoming more of a concern so far this morning is the fact that we have tremendous rainfall, especially falling in Franklin County. Remember, there's a flood watch that goes into effect at 7 a.m. and goes all the way to Sunday at 1 a.m. The potential, some of the forecast models were spitting out were like 6-7 inches of rainfall. And here we are getting blasted with heavy rainfall before the flood watch even kicks in. And therefore, likely thinking that if we continue to see storms throughout the day, which we plan to, this will be just round one. Round two will come later this afternoon and evening. The potential, especially with round two, for areas that got clobbered here this morning with heavy rainfall, and you get round two of heavy rain, we'll likely start to see something in the way of some flash flooding as well. So storms will continue to move off to the north and east. And just to remind everybody, I'm sure when the National Weather Service radar, if you have a radar, if you have a weather radio at home, and you're keeping tabs on the radar on the WAFF 48 page, keep in mind the tornado watch when it was issued probably alerted you. It's just a watch right now. There are no tornado warnings for the area. The watch does not even include all of our counties. Areas east are not included. It goes until 10 a.m. We do not have a tornado warning at this time. Remember, a watch means that the conditions are favorable for tornado development, but we do not have a warning at this time. We do have wind advisories that kick in at 7 a.m. for winds, even if it's not a thunderstorm. Some very gusty winds are likely today. We already have some very breezy conditions, even if you're not within the thunderstorms and the radar. There's still some gusts that have been up to 30, 35 miles an hour already this morning. And we have a flood watch as well for areas. It includes all of the Tennessee Valley, and that will continue as we go into the day today. Remember, if you have not had a storm and you feel like you miss out this morning with storms and you feel like, hey, I didn't get much, remember, there's round 2 coming this afternoon and evening that has the potential to be even stronger. There's your flood watch that I talked about. I wanted to point this graphic out to you. There's 2 parts to this graphic. We're tracking round 1 right now. Notice that the areas in red on this particular graphic show the potential for severe weather. Areas east, it drops off into the orange color, and that's because everything that's been taking place so far this morning, the strongest storms, the heaviest rainfall, has all been for areas mainly in that red area. That will transition to the east as we go into the afternoon and evening. Big, bold area of white for a very high-risk area of not just damaging winds, but obviously long-track tornadoes, quarter-sized hail, and tremendous rainfall. Again, this is the time frame as we go into the afternoon and evening that we could be looking at the potential for flash flooding. And that pretty much covers all the Tennessee Valley. So even though you're not in a tornado watch this morning for areas east, as I showed you, you have the potential to have a second tornado watch issued this afternoon. And what will happen is for areas that had the tornado watch in the morning, it will be your second. And I imagine that areas east will get into a tornado watch as well, and it would be your first. But it's an active day weather-wise when there's the potential not just to have one, but to have 2 tornado watches in a single day.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you for covering there. For those of you that were watching the stream, we were having a technical problem putting the actual on-air feed over, so you were seeing exactly what we were talking about. You were just missing Jeff and I's faces, which you see a lot of us anyways.
You don't need to see any.
But we're sorting that out the next time. If we do have to do continuous coverage, that should be fixed. I'm going to need another cup of coffee here in a second as well. So Jeff, he's on his way. If you don't mind,
I'll get you.
I'll have a Columbia, please. Thank you. Right now, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning. This is even showing a weakening trend, and that's exactly what we want to see. This is still dumping a ton of rainfall, and even there's a small little sliver here that might still be producing a bit of a hail threat in parts of Marion County, and that's going to be tracking to the northeast. I know you guys are asking about storm tracks. Really, the biggest concern that I think right now, I think it's going to be some hail and very, very heavy rainfall, at least for the immediate future here. It's 3:41 on your Saturday morning. Some of you just wanting to go to bed. I know a lot of you have storm anxiety, totally understandable. This is just the start of the day though. This rainfall this morning will continue to move through. I'll get a storm track up here in a second, but just a ton of rain right now. The hail is still possible, and this is going to be heading toward you in Russellville. This is going to probably produce, I'd say, at least half-inch diameter hail. This has a ton of lightning with it. A lot of heavy rainfall. Look at the lightning we have. This is all basically centralized here in Franklin County. If you're in Red Bay, you've got more activity to your west. That's just a lot of rain, maybe some wind, small hail, and lightning too. This is what we're looking at. This is just a severe thunderstorm warning, the tornado warning that prompted our coverage. That is expired. No tornado threat right now. Potentially some very strong winds moving right along 43 toward the Rockwood area. And these are, again, very close to severe winds through most of Franklin County right now. And that threat for large hail too. That's the strongest storm we've got. There's not a ton behind it here. The southern kind of appendage, if you will, that might be producing some hail too. They've got a severe thunderstorm warning on that. A lot of rain behind it too. And these are going to potentially train. We call those training thunderstorms that dump a lot of heavy rain in a short amount of time. So flash flooding a concern, hail and wind right now, along with frequent cloudy ground lightning. I will put a storm track on this, but it's just kind of a take it for what it is, more or less storm track. I'm going to go like this, extend it at, this is moving a lot slower. We'll go 35 miles per hour. I'm going to take that storm track And I'm going to put this out probably, here's an hour and a half. And there's 2 hours. This is out 2 hours. This is that same parent storm. This is going to be the wind threat, the heavy rain threat. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. A lot of heavy rain now just for areas west of 65. Some wind, hail threat, flash flooding, I think, is starting to become an increasing concern here. And we were mentioning this morning round, there were so many questions with it. Would we see those supercells? Would we have an atmosphere that supports it? We obviously have an atmosphere that supports hail development and a lot of heavy rainfall right now.
Yeah, and that area of rotation becoming very broad, but the rainfall is a concern though. And I know the rainfall never gets enough attention, but
no, never does. But flash flooding, it's 3:40 on a Saturday morning, 3:44 to be specific. Not too many people out on the roadways too. And just a day ahead where it's not going to be the best day to just be out and about doing your normal Saturday routine. You have to know what's going on weather-wise. These storms could start firing up, and once they do, things could get busy pretty quick too. Severe thunderstorm warning continues for Franklin County. Rain and wind at the moment. Broad rotation. Not as concerning as when we first went on air too.
and this is the same cell when it moved through Mississippi back at midnight that produced what could potentially be a very strong tornado. It still had some rotation as it made its way to the Alabama state line, but now very broad and more probably of a rain and wind event with some small hail as it moves north and east. And Eric showed the timeline of that, and he showed, I saw Rogersville at 446. So the movement of this thing being so slow. I mean, it's still not even making it to I-65 by the time we go to air at 5 o'clock for the newscast. And with that slow movement, all that does is just emphasize the heavy rainfall and brings in the threat of flash flooding. And where we have heavy rainfall this morning, I would imagine when round 2 comes this afternoon, which will impact everybody, and it's a 1-2 punch of severe weather today, the areas that were soaked this morning and get more heavy rain later this afternoon, evening, would be even more vulnerable for flash flooding to occur when round 2 comes in. Because keep in mind, this is an all-day event. It's not just this morning storms. There's more later this afternoon. There's going to be a little bit of a break in the action between the 2 rounds. But the second round could even be more impactful for the area, especially if we have a couple hours where we go ahead and pop a little sunshine and really heat up the atmosphere and make it even a bit more conducive for more widespread severe weather.
Yeah, and these winds that I'm highlighting right now aren't really at the surface per se, but very strong winds now just south of Russellville. That's going to go to 24. There's going to be a new severe thunderstorm warning being drawn up. This is going to include Lawrence County for sure, and I'm not sure how far to the northwest they're going to pull this, but very strong winds right now between Russellville and Phil Campbell in Franklin County. So if you're in Hatton and Moulton, eventually this is going to start to track your way. Put a big storm track on that. Go 35 miles per hour. Leave that up for a second. Strong wind. Downstream severe thunderstorm warning being drawn up for Lawrence, and it says Limestone too. So this is going to be a long duration kind of polygon here. But if you are in Lawrence County and if you're in Russellville right now, you've got a lot of wind you're dealing with here. Very, very strong. Potential for hail too.
Notice the timeline too. I mean, Cortland at 4:31, Eric, that's 45 minutes away. So you can just see how slow things are moving. So if you do get one of these storms and it moves over your area, not is it just heavy rainfall, but it's prolonged periods of very gusty winds too. And that could cause widespread damage as it moves north and east. Maybe not a tornado, but winds, whether they're getting pulled up by a tornado or they're coming straight on down, they all can produce damage either way.
Yeah, just going through some of the velocity scans. Strong winds. Rockwood just had the strong winds, potential for hail. Anyone, your storm reports are appreciated if you are in Franklin County. You got hail in Russellville.
There you go.
Thank you, Nick De La Rosa. Appreciate it. Good morning. Anything that ground truth helps us.
Yeah, Sabrina.
Helps us tell the story too.
Sabrina says, why did I just get a tornado watch for my location? Well, there's been a tornado watch that's been issued for about an hour now, and it goes until 10 a.m. Let me just pull the graphic up for you. And I'll try to explain for you that the tornado watch means that conditions are just favorable for tornadoes. We don't have a warning right now. The watch just means that there's a chance for some tornadoes through 10 a.m. for the counties in red. But we do not have any more tornado warnings. We did at one time for parts of Franklin County, Marion County. But right now, there are no tornado warnings. But that's why you have a watch. And that watch was issued about an hour ago. And it goes until 10 a.m. And the watch just means that there's a chance for some type of thunder.
I think she's talking about the 48 weather app. Sometimes it will.
Oh, it will continue to go off. Yeah.
It will double issue some watches too. There's a little bit of rotation near Russellville that we're keeping an eye on. It's pretty broad, but it is there. Very strong winds in Franklin County, and the hail. The new severe thunderstorm warning, I believe, is in the process of being drawn up. But this is you in Waco, Tharptown, Mountain Star, Hester Heights. Was a couple weeks ago in February. Jeff and I were tracking that storm right here in this area.
Yeah, it was the same location too. But if you live in anywhere in that area east of Russellville, I'd imagine the winds are picking up with some very heavy rainfall for you. Put this shear rate on just for a minute. Maybe seeing a little bit of it's very broad rotation in parts of northeast of Russellville right now. You know, one thing, Eric, I wanted to check really quick too on the radar was our lightning strikes. Remember when the storms first moved in and they had so much lightning with them? I see that. I think the lightning strikes kind of back off just a little bit now. Maybe up towards Pulaski, still a pretty good cluster. And there's your severe thunderstorm warning now. And now it includes the city of Athens.
What's the speed on that, please?
Speed on that is...
So this is for winds 60 miles per hour and 1-inch diameter hail. So severe hail and severe wind gust is what this warning is for.
So this is moving now northeast at 60 miles per hour.
6-0?
6-0.
So it is moving faster, which is good. That will help with the flooding threat. 4:45, the severe thunderstorm warning goes through. And I'm going to go ahead and just give you a big old storm track on that. Let that sit for a second. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning for 60 plus mile per hour winds and 1-inch diameter hail, which the hail, each warning that comes out is progressively getting smaller. A lot of lightning with this. Very, very heavy rainfall. Watching out for that flooding threat. People asking if they need to seek shelter. Depends on what kind of home you're in. Just lowest level interior room, away from windows. Strong winds with this, and we could have debris flying around, very likely, along with the threat for hail too. And this is tracking northeasterly at 60 miles per hour, so this warning will include parts of Lauderdale, Limestone County, Lawrence County, and still continuing with a sliver of Colbert County, and still you guys here in Franklin County.
And John, and I think it's Lachey Gilbert, I'm 2 miles, whoops, wait a minute, where'd that comment go? I want to say that. In 2 miles from Thorpetown, which we just talked about, and it's raining very hard and the wind is bad. So that is ground truth of what we just talked about with the storm moving just east of Russellville, that there was some wind and some heavy rain. It's also probably why the National Weather Service extended the severe thunderstorm warning for areas to the north and east. It now includes areas like Leeton. It includes areas like Athens, Cortland, Hatton, Town Creek, Rogersville, even up towards Anderson. It's a very large severe thunderstorm warning encompassing much of that area, and that's for the damaging winds and also the hail potential. And Eric had the timeline up there for so long, and that storm picking up speed is actually good for flash flooding, and it's something that will probably relieve some of the areas that are getting that really heavy rainfall when the storm hit the brakes crossing the state line, where it was just a true soaker for areas in Franklin County.
Yep, right now, strongest wind, likely going to be moving out of Russellville, moving east of Rockwood, and east of you and Phil Campbell. A lot of wind still behind it, but the strongest winds moving out. So this is heading toward you in Littleville, Old Bethel, and eventually Hatton and Moulton. Just really zoom in tight here. Waco, Newburgh, you've got Churntown, Mount Hope, Hickory Grove, Tharptown, and Hester Heights. I'm still confused as why the hail is not showing up.
You know, I had a little bit of problems on this computer too with it too. It's kind of weird, but I mean, we've had confirmed reports of 1 inch to 1.5 inch size hail in that area.
So the swath does,
Yep.
but even High Top should pick it up. BMX should pick it up. But if you go to this,
Yeah. Shows it was.
it looks like we have missing data,
Missing data.
potentially. Now, all our data is working other than the hail at this time, which if I were to have all the other tools, we could just verbally tell you that there is likely hail with this too. A lot of lightning. A lot of lightning there in Franklin County. You guys are the first ones to see the show.
I think a lot of times too, if you feel like that we haven't mentioned your town enough, that means that you're not being affected right now. So like if you live like out in Scottsboro, or if you live in Dutton, or if you live areas east, nothing is even remotely close to you right now. It's all been west so far this morning, west of I-65. And that's where we've seen some of the heaviest of rainfall, gustiest of winds, and even a tornado warning at one point. But if you are east of I-65, you really haven't had anything yet. And if we're not mentioning your town, that's a good thing. You don't want us mentioning your town. If we start putting you in the little path and we start talking about what time the storm is going to be at your location, that means that you're in the track. But areas east and, you know, overall, there'll probably be some areas in DeKalb and Jackson County that have literally nothing here this morning. And then you wait for round two. And that's the concern, is when you don't have anything this morning and you think you're out of the woods, but there's going to be a round two that could be much more intense than what we have here this morning and more widespread across the Tennessee Valley. But that's some pretty heavy rain in Russellville right now. And that severe thunderstorm warning, again, extended north and east and does include the city of Athens at this time.
Yeah, the rain's just going to be dumping here. And some of the rotation that we were watching and the Weather Service confirming Jeff and I's theories here that that broad rotation, that's basically gone. That's a good thing. We don't want rotation. Still straight line wind potential, hail potential, ton of lightning, and this is going to track here into parts of Lawrence County. And if you're all the way downstream here in Athens, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning. That one goes, I think, 445, was it? If you, here, I got it.
I got it right here.
445. So you are well downwind, downstream of where the concern is right now. So if you're waking up in Athens saying, what's going on? I got an alert on my 48 weather app. My NOAA weather radio went off. You guys just dealing with some rain at the moment. There's some lightning. There's Athens. Best circle.
Best circle.
Best circle I've seen so far this morning. But the strongest wind and the threat for hail right now is going to be right along Highway 43 there in Franklin County.
And even up towards the Shoals in Florence, Eric, there's some heavy rain falling. And you've had some very heavy rain up in the Shoals in Florence, Tuscumbia. There was like a light show about an hour ago with a cluster of storms that was producing some thunder, lightning, and heavy rain, and probably some small hail too. But there's still a tremendous amount of rain even behind this cluster here in Russellville back into Mississippi. So like if you're in Red Bay right now, you're not in the warning, but it's raining heavy for you at this time. And the storms continue to move off to the east, northeast. And that rainfall will continue to be heavy at times. Here's the light. I'm going to put the lightning back up. Get the counter. Yeah, the number of total lightning strikes, and keep in mind, I zoomed out pretty far. So it's including some of the storms down towards Jasper and Double Springs. But that's a tremendous drop-off in lightning that we saw from even just an hour ago. That's good news, too. The broad rotation, good, too. So the biggest question was going to be round one. Like, how did round one play out? Was it going to be widespread tornado activity? Was it going to be more rain and wind? Were we going to be capped? Were we going to allow ourselves to mainly just turn this into more like a rain and wind event through the morning? And right now, that's what's setting up. Even though we are in a tornado watch until 10 a.m., Nothing really jumps out as anything too concerning when it comes to tornado activity. Doesn't mean you can't have some damage with the winds. It doesn't mean you can't have flash flooding with heavy rainfall. It doesn't mean you can't have vivid, dangerous lightning. But it does warrant that right now there's no pressing concern for any kind of tornado activity. That could change as the storms continue to move north and east, and that's what we're here for. And we'll keep you updated. We have a newscast starting at 5, but Eric and I will continue to stream up until then. But the storms themselves, overall, besides the initial tornado warning when it crossed the state line, we are mainly just severe thunderstorm warnings with rain and wind right now. Now, I'm going to show you a different graphic, and this is what we're watching for the rest of the day. And I put this hour-by-hour graphic up for you. And I'll fast forward this to 4 a.m., and it's pretty much doing pretty good. That forecast model right there, I think I have the HRRR up. It's a National Weather Service product. And I felt like it had a better grasp of the actual storm play out throughout the day today. And that's the one that I chose, the forecast model that I was going to use on air this morning. And right now, it looks pretty good. I mean, if you snapshot it at 4 a.m. and that's what you see, it's almost what the radar looks like right now. So the model, the forecast model, is handling the forecast very well up until this point. As we fast forward to about 6 o'clock, everything starts to shift a little bit more to the east. This is a heavy rain, wind maker. We're going to be monitoring the potential for any kind of tornado activity, but at this time, it would probably be more of a rain and wind event. By the time we get to 8 a.m., everything's starting to lift off to the north and east, moving southwest to northeast, and eventually crosses the Tennessee state line by about 10, 11 o'clock. This is when you have a chance to get a little sunshine. And a lot of you will be like, wow, that was it? That's all we got? And if you're east, you probably are like, I never got anything, right? And you're probably going to be in Huntsville going, why did they cancel the parade for today? Well, the reason why is we're going to heat the atmosphere up, and here comes the next round. And by 1, 2 o'clock for areas to the west, this will be the time of concern for areas west of I-65. And it's not just a rain and wind event with round 2. It has the potential to be more than that with some large hail and the chance for tornadoes. As that line continues to move off to the east, it starts to impact areas along I-65 about 4 or 5 o'clock. And it's just a massive amount of thunderstorms. The potential for long tracked tornadoes, good because we can give you a long duration of warning before it gets to you. It's not one of those spin ups that are kind of tied into a squall line that can be so difficult to see on the radar, but they also could be more damaging. And we don't want any tornadoes, that's for sure. We don't want any damage, but I do think this afternoon and evening that may be tough to avoid. And keep in mind, even when you don't have a thunderstorm, you're going to have some very strong winds. By the time we get to 7:30, 8 o'clock, everything pivots to the east. At that point, I would imagine Brad and Chelsea will be here tonight. They will probably start clearing counties off to the west at that point. And then as we go into the 10, 11 o'clock hour, it clears Sand Mountain, it clears Lookout Mountain, and eventually crosses the Georgia state line. By the time we get to Sunday, there's still a few little isolated showers. You could even have a rumble of thunder Sunday afternoon for areas along the Tennessee-Alabama state line, but most of the activity will not be severe, and not anticipating any widespread rainfall on Sunday. In fact, you'll probably have more hours of sunshine than you will any kind of thunderstorm or rainfall, and a much better second half to the weekend than what we're dealing with here for the first half. I'll go back to the radar. Show you where the severe thunderstorm warning, the boxes that you see blinking in yellow. The storms themselves are mainly just rainmakers right now with some gusty winds, some small hail. The severe thunderstorm warning includes Limestone County, Lawrence County, and back into Franklin County. If you're in the city of, or the town of Hatton or Moulton, some heavy rainfall knocking on your door, and that will continue to move to your area in the next 15 to 20 minutes, Eric.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you. We're just still working on that issue with the stream and not seeing us. I believe we've resolved that issue. So if and when we have to do continuous coverage again. One thing I want to point out, the rotation that we were seeing that prompted that earlier warning in Franklin County, the tornado warning, that rotation is basically non-existent. This would be more of a straight line wind, heavy rain, and hail threat right now. I know we've got some storms farther to the south, and there is a severe thunderstorm warning. This is all north and west of Tuscaloosa. That track essentially would take it more into Coleman, maybe parts of Morgan and Marshall County, and this is going to be maybe hour and a half, 2 hours from now.
Yeah, we're talking between 5 and 6, you think?
They are seeing a bit more of a hail signature on some of those, and keeping their strength, and they've extended the warning here. Is this just an arrow? No, that's different views. But this warning's been extended, so that storm here, obviously that's most likely for a wind and hail threat, just a severe thunderstorm warning. That warning goes until 4:30, so it's 4:03. We've got these big polygons, and this is for the Russellville storm. A lot of that probably just has to do because this is the same parent thunderstorm that produced that significant tornado in Mississippi much earlier this morning. We're not seeing that same threat right now. Just a lot of wind and a hail threat too. Going back to the swath, see that hail that was confirmed by you guys on the stream, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Moving right through Russellville.
Yeah, I appreciate the updates too. Like if you're on Facebook and I talked about, if we're not mentioning your town, that's a good thing. But those of you that we've talked about where the storms have actually had an impact, all your updates and two are really cool. I appreciate that because you're letting us know, hey, look, I do have some small hail. Everything that you just said is happening here. We got some gusty winds. We have some heavy rainfall. Back when the storms were affecting areas like in Florence and the Shoals, where they weren't severe, but obviously a tremendous amount of lightning and a big old light show. Many of you letting us know that you could see the lightning and you could hear the thunder and the rainfall was heavy at times, and you were tracking that with us. And that's what the stream is all about. It's in a very positive manner, allowing you to let us know what you have happening in your town, and it can confirm what we're saying. Or maybe we have to change our tune a little bit and say, hey, wait a minute, there's a little bit more rain there happening than we thought, or there's a little bit more wind than we thought. And your updates are always very appreciated, and we thank you.
I'm going to put up your radar, and I'm going to try and figure out why we're missing the hail data on this computer.
Okay, so just like this radar here?
Sure.
Is that cool with you if I do that? I have to ask permission. I gotta make sure I'm doing this right.
That or the next rad, whatever you're feeling here. If you just give me 1 sec, I want to try and figure out.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause this for just a moment too, so people can see. I'm gonna take it to the end. Eventually. You really have, I actually like this when I can zoom out a little bit. So I paused it, and you can see like 3 distinct clusters of thunderstorms. You got one in Lawrenceburg, just to the north and west of Pulaski. You have that one thunderstorm in Russellville that we've been tracking, moving through parts of Franklin County, about to move into Lawrence County. If you live in Town Creek along 101 and you're in the Hatton area, you got some heavy rain headed your way. And then you have another cluster in the Double Springs, Jasper area along I-22. That shows some signs of strengthening, and that could be producing some larger hail. That will move up towards Coleman County and eventually into Morgan County. So all of this is moving southwest to northeast. And if you have the WAFF 48 app, a couple of things I want to mention. A lot of you tell me, my radar on my app doesn't match what's really happening. You probably have it set to future and you don't have it set to current. So you're seeing what the radar is trying to show you future instead of what's really happening outside. And that app is going to show you a radar today that features storms moving southwest to northeast all day. Somebody just asked me about Hatton. You have some very heavy rainfall off to your west, and you're going to probably have some gusty winds here shortly in the next 15 to 20 minutes. It's that area right near Russellville that will eventually bring you the heavy rain and the gusty winds. And there's Town Creek, there's Hatton for you, and that's moving off to the north and east. So got an update from Kimberly. She's in Russellville. She says, hailing bad in Russellville, Alabama. And yeah, that exactly confirms what we're talking about, why there's a severe thunderstorm warning in that area. Remember, severe thunderstorm warnings are issued for winds, hail, and the potential for a tornado, right? And then if there's a tornado potential, eventually that could be upgraded to a tornado warning. Lightning, thunder, and heavy rain are not part of severe thunderstorms. So what happens is, if you have a warning, it's because of those 3 that I mentioned. And hail certainly of 1 inch diameter or more would prompt a severe thunderstorm warning. And that's exactly what we are seeing with some of the updates that you all are letting me know.
So I could get this.
Look at you fixing things.
But this one still, Trying my best here.
I
I need that hail tool to work on a day like today.
You do.
Tells a big part of this story. I'm going to fire off an email really quick.
Yeah, I'm going to keep talking. Is that
Okay, yeah, you're doing great.
All right, here I go. Jewel, I'm trying to address some of the questions on our Facebook page. It's the only streaming that I have up right now. But Jewel, she says, thunder starting in harvest, and that makes sense. I'm going to go back to the other radar because I like the way it looks until he comes back and starts fixing it again. Are you fixing it now?
I need to remember what it's called, what I was actually looking for.
I'm jumping back off again.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, I needed the 1 kilometer Ville density. That's what I needed.
That sounds very fancy. So somebody's asking, Christian says, anything for Decatur? I got the radar up for you, my friend, and I'll show you what we got going on. I'll put a little track on this for you, okay? Right now, you're got a little pocket of rain near you, but it's not really anything severe. I'm going to kind of do this, and I'm going to pop this out like this. This is moving a lot faster now. I put it to 60. So that main heavy rainfall in Russellville will likely stay just north of Decatur. In fact, Decatur, you may get split between the two clusters of storms right now. The one in Double Springs will probably stay south of you, and the one in Russellville will likely go just north of you and affect more like Tanner and Athens. And there are the times. If you're in Athens, 446 is when that heavy rain and gusty winds will get to you. If you're in Coxie, about 432. Moving through Joe Wheeler, about 422. So I'll leave the times up there for you. Caitlin with some updates telling me that she's got some thunder in Hartselle, and I appreciate that. Eric, E-R-I-C-H, great way to spell your name. Ardmore is rumbling outside. I can hear some thunder there. And starting to hear some thunder in the New Market area. Thank you very much, Samantha, for that update. Let me go down a little bit more. The only choices I have for my radar are future, past, or past and future. I don't have current. I don't, it should just be regular radar. So if you have WAFF 48 app, just turn it off future. Just get it off future if you can. That's all I can say. I've had a couple of people email me. I've tried to walk them through the process. It's unfortunately not easy. When the app got updated, it actually started to default to the future radar, which is great if you're planning your day and you want to know what's going to happen for the next 8 to 10 hours. But it really stinks when there's thunderstorms happening now and it's current. And there's so many people that I've had to talk to and try to walk them through an email, or I have them actually call me here at the station and try to get it taken care of. And power is out for parts of Russellville. And bear with me for just a moment because I think we just froze up and I want to make sure we're still good to go. I think we are. There we are. We're back. So power out in parts of Russellville. Book Lisa, thank you very much for letting me know that. I appreciate that. I checked the power outage page. I have it loaded up here. It doesn't seem like it's a widespread number of power outages, but obviously if you are one of those people or one of those residents that has lost power, very frustrating. And hopefully it comes back on soon. Hopefully they get a chance to get it back on before another round of storms come in later this afternoon and evening. Emily says the rain just got a lot heavier in western Limestone County. And you know what? I'll zoom in. We can confirm that. In fact, I'm going to take it off this one. I'm going to put it on the high top radar. And you can see that heavy rainfall moving into western Limestone County as we speak. Some very heavy rainfall. And that is now moved out of Russellville where we have some power outages reported. But if you live in Hatton, it's about to pour. And right along 24, if you're driving 24 Russellville to Moulton, that's a very heavy rain. Probably some gusty winds too. You pick up a little bit of hail. And there's another severe thunderstorm warning, not going to affect us, but off to the north and west. That cell's moving north and east. Off to the south into Double Springs and Jasper, there is a severe thunderstorm warning there as well. That cell will continue to move to the north and east and eventually move into Coleman County, probably track in southeastern Morgan County. And again, if you're in Decatur right now, let me just show you what you got going on. So you got this here, and that's tracking this way. Bear with me on my terrible arrows and circles. And then you got this area, whoops, no. You got this area here that's doing one of these. An indicator, you very well could get split right now. I still think you're going to get some rainfall here, but it's kind of weird how that's working out. But you have literally 4 distinct clusters of rain and storms. Pulaski, north of Corinth, you have the heavy rain moving into Hatton and Town Creek, and then you have that other area in Double Springs as well. So, and again, if you are east in Scottsboro, beautiful Dutton, if you're in Section, if you're in Langston, Fort Payne, Rainsville, Fife, Ider, Albertville, Gunnersville, Aniana, Gadsden, Rainbow City, High Top, Hollywood, Bryant. We haven't mentioned your names until just now, right? And that's because you haven't had anything yet. Everything's been to your west. But please, if you have not had anything this morning, and even areas east probably won't have much even into the mid-morning hours, you still have round 2 coming this afternoon and evening, and that will impact your area. And it will probably impact your area later today and evening. You're not out of the woods yet if you miss this. And somebody just asked, could the rain help keep the atmosphere stable, or it's not near enough to help? Braden, that's a great question. And I really appreciate that, because you're actually, it's like a volleyball game. You just set me up, and I'm going to try to spike the answer for you, my friend. So what happens is, a lot of times I would love to sit here and say that that's going to be the scenario where this will cool the atmosphere and maybe stabilize the air enough to not have round 2. But unfortunately, I do think that when this first round ends mid-morning, there's going to be enough of a window to have a little sunshine. And it's going to heat the atmosphere up again. And that's going to lead to more in the way of stronger storms and severe storms developing again this afternoon. And it actually becomes more widespread as we go into the afternoon and evening. And unfortunately, I just don't think we're going to cool the air enough to prevent that from happening. That would be the best case scenario for sure. Best case scenario.
Heard you pounding on things.
I was pounding it. I get all worked up out here. So somebody asking, they live in a mobile home in Athens, and they're asking if I need to take shelter. Right now in Athens, there's rain to your west, and what's happening is a storm off to your south and west is mainly just a big rainmaker with some gusty winds, and that's why there's a severe thunderstorm warning. We don't see any rotation with these storms at this time. Whatever rotation we had, became very broad and becoming more of a wind and rainmaker and some hail right now, though we're not ruling out the potential for some isolated tornadoes this morning. Right now, there's nothing concerning us that there is a tornado out there right now. But remember, there's a tornado watch until 10 a.m. as Eric continues to play with the pretty colors. But that warning, and nothing really jumps out as any kind of rotation right now. And Eric, if I'm wrong, please jump in and tell me to shut up, because...
No, you've got it. I'm just... still trying to figure out why our hail button is not working.
I love your determination. That's why we're best friends. So, Isaiah, what do I need to do if I'm in harvest? Just keep paying attention to the updates. Right now, the storms are mainly to your west. What about the storm in Pulaski? Eric, do you mind popping that up a little bit more north so I can show Pulaski? I had it on Huntsville. So Pulaski is just some heavy rainfall with probably some vivid lightning, but it's not warned at this time. The cell is moving off to the north and east, and it will bring some heavy rainfall. It seems to be moving a little bit slower than the cell towards Russellville, down towards Moulton, but that's what you have now. Fayetteville, Trevor's asking, you just have some heavy rainfall. Got to keep an eye on that severe thunderstorm warning that stretches all the way to Athens. If the storm were to continue to produce damaging winds and large hail, it would probably extend the severe thunderstorm warning north and east, and that could include parts of Fayetteville, certainly Park City. What time the storms are really bad in Florence? Right now, you've had a little taste, Faith, of some storms in Florence. It's been mainly just rain for you and some wind, but I would look towards the afternoon, Faith, after about 1, 2 o'clock. And that's when we start to see another concern for round 2 to move in, and that would impact your area in Florence. And that's when we can see the strongest of storms. Well, Whitney, that's a very nice thing to say. She said rain in Hatton dropped right at 417. Insane how accurate you guys are. You know what, Whitney? I may actually take a picture of that so I never forget that you just said that, because that's really kind of you to say. Savannah says, what time should the system be out of Hatton? You're going to have rain for several hours here. But remember, Savannah, there's round 2 coming later. So even if you get a break by mid to late morning, there's more storms that will be likely this afternoon. Kaylee says, Cortland, heavy rain will be in your area. Let me focus in the Cortland area. It's a beautiful area. I drive out there all the time. So there you are, Cortland. Zoomed in. You ask, therefore you shall receive. Rainfall, heavy, probably some gusty winds in the Cortland area. It's certainly moving through Hatton now, and that rainfall is going to get even heavier for you in Hatton. So let me zoom in a little bit. I got to give you roads. I'm being very bad about that. Let me get you roads. So obviously that beautiful drive from Town Creek to Cortland out towards Leeton, areas along 72 or 20, probably picking up some very heavy rainfall. Cortland, you're going to get dumped on rainfall-wise here shortly. I would not be surprised if you have some hail, especially if you're in Old Bethel right now towards Hatton. Some very gusty winds in your area. Check the velocity for you, see if we pick up on anything there. I don't think it's really too bad, but yeah, there's some gusty winds that could maybe reach 40, 50 miles an hour in the Hatton area. And that wind could be stronger too as you go south. Maybe approaching 50 miles an hour. So in the Cortland area, you're going to get the same thing Hatton's getting right now, and eventually they'll be there in a little bit, about 15 minutes. What I'm going to do is let me clear this out for just a moment, and I'll put a track on this for y'all. I haven't done that in a while. And just keep in mind too, I want to point something out. If you live in Russellville, like, look at the rainfall for you. So you got dumped on, you had a severe thunderstorm warning. Now you still have heavy rainfall. Rainfall totals in Franklin County through this morning's round of storms are going to be, unfortunately, impressive in the wrong way. So I put the timeline out to kind of see how far I could take it out. The Ardmore Twins, 5 a.m., so about 40 minutes. Tanner, 4:49. Athens, 4:49, so you're about 29 minutes away. Moulton's on your doorstep in about 10 minutes. Town Creek happening pretty much now. Cortland happening in about 5 minutes. So, yeah, it gives you a basic idea there for you. Ashley, you're very welcome, and thank you. Williams got some lightning in the Moores Mill area. And keep in mind, too, at night when it's really dark outside and you don't have light, lightning far, far away from you can be seen for miles. I remember one time I was on air, I think it was last year. There was a storm literally in Shelbyville, Tennessee, north of Fayetteville. And I had people in Decatur in the morning telling me they could see the lightning. And it was that far away. It was a big, big lightning maker. And they thought they had a thunderstorm in their area, and they were wondering when the storm was going to hit them in Decatur. Well, it was moving north. So it wasn't even close to Decatur, but you could see the lightning. And that's what happens at night. It's a little bit easier to see a storm off in the distance because you have a little bit better vantage point of seeing the lightning at night. Storm could be miles and miles away from you. And speaking of lightning, there are your lightning strikes. The number has gone up since I last showed this because I am including that Double Springs area. And this is probably the area that we need to keep an eye on right here. Anytime you see that many lightning strikes clustered together, got to start to think that there's the potential there for some strengthening. Let me check the chat room, see if the thinking is the same. Yeah, just a potential for heavy rainfall, flooding. Christopher White mentioned that this was back at, what was that? That was back at 4 o'clock. An uptick in some of the lightning, growing hail signatures, the cells that are moving from Lawrence Morgan to Coleman. So in that same area. Winston County spread northeast where Lawrence County Morgan have the next 15 minutes. The activity appears to be sub-severe at the moment, but produce lots of lightning. Yep. So Huntsville talking about this area, this uptick in lightning right here, which is what I just talked about, with the potential for some very heavy rainfall, still below severe criteria. And this area right in here, little small Boeing segment, which I would imagine they're referring to this right here. This is actually the winds that I just showed you. No, it's right here. Let me show you that. Let me go ahead. Let me turn the lightning off. I want to show you something off. Okay. Turn the lightning off for a second. I want to go in here and show you something. I want to take this. I think I want to take this from Columbus. I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah, I do. So this is the area where we see some strong winds. If you're in the Hatton area, there's some pretty good gusts in your area right now. That's close to 60, and that's probably getting down to the surface right now. Yeah. So let me zoom in on that just a little bit. If you're in southeast Hatton, northwest Moulton, right near Muck City, which I think is the best name of a city ever, you probably got some very gusty winds with heavy rainfall. Got to keep an eye on that. I want to zoom into some of these roads. So this is going to affect you on County Road 165. This is going to be along Highway 24 and north in between Alabama Highway 157. 157 takes you right into North Hatton. County Road 161 probably has already had some of the very gusty winds. That's now moving into areas along Alabama 157, getting close to Masterson Mill. Eventually Longtown, Alabama Highway 33. This will be the area where we would have some strong winds. National Weather Service has talked about like a little Boeing segment, Eric, right through here, where we're picking up some gusty winds. And Velocity Tool shows that a lot of that probably happening right now. So
yeah, right through central northern Lawrence County. This is heading toward Limestone County. Not rotating, straight line winds.
But you can see right here. So see where, let me show you this really quick. So right in here where you have that transition from essentially nothing and it goes to green, yellow, and red really fast, probably some very, very strong winds right there into eastern Hatton right now. And then you pick up this little area over here. I imagine there's some pretty strong winds as well. And I'll zoom in on that. I want to see if I can get some rain. Let's see if I can get that down there. Look at me manipulating this tool.
I'm very impressed.
Who am I? There's some more winds there. Yep, that makes sense too. So that's all confirming. Yeah. And that's even outside the severe thunderstorm warning right now. So there's, and I want to emphasize too, the National Weather Service does a fantastic job with their warnings and their polygons. But if you're just next to that polygon and you're close to it, there's a very real chance that you probably have some gusty winds too. You don't have to be in the polygon technically to have very strong winds.
And when they drew up that initial warning, that polygon, the cell had a different shape. It's starting to expand a little bit. There's still a lot of wind. I did not figure out the hail tool, but I could show you a different hail tool and see what we're potentially looking at here. What is that? That is not the product I want. I want hail size. I thought I was onto something. Obviously still a work in progress here, Jeff.
That hail track that you showed though, where it shows shows the history of the hail. Sorry, everybody. I'm all choked up.
You've been talking a lot. And here's that swath of hail right here. Mainly you in Franklin County, and you guys got a big hailstorm the other day too. But no concerning rotation, straight line winds, heavy rainfall too. And there's still rain behind this. So it's going to continue to come in, just kind of one after another after another. I don't think this is going to play any role in what we're anticipating later today. And even behind the severe thunderstorm warning, still quite a bit of lightning with this. Into Colbert County, as well as Lawrence County, we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning up here. And this is for Hardin County in Tennessee. And then you've got Wayne County just off to the east, not in the warning. That goes until 5 a.m. And that's probably going to be for that for the hail too. Up there.
So Jessica Roberts just asked that you guys should really be on TV. We're not just on Facebook. We're on all of our streaming platforms. We don't really have much in the way of widespread severe weather right now. We have some gusty winds in the Cortland area and some heavy rainfall. We do not have any tornadoes right now. There's a tornado watch, but we don't have any tornado warnings. And right now, it's very heavy rain into Moulton. We're keeping an eye on that where we have the severe thunderstorm warning. But overall, it's mainly just some thunderstorms with some heavy rain. We're keeping an eye on the gusty winds, of course, too.
Yeah, watching that closely. This is not a cut into TV worthy storm like Jeff was hinting at. Yes, there are 60-mile-per-hour winds potentially in here. He showed you when he was using the dropper tool to get some of the wind queries. But there's a lot of lightning. There could be some hail with this. This is not a cut into TV type storm. Jeff, the newscast starting here in 30 minutes.
Yep.
And he will have the latest. I think what you'll be tracking through the morning newscast,
Just
obviously current radar,
Yep.
because people want to know what's going on right now. But you're going to be talking a lot more about what's to come later today.
Yeah.
And we've got high risk, 5 out of 5 from the Storm Prediction Center for portions of the area, mainly our southern areas. I think it includes parts of Franklin, Colbert, Lawrence, and Coleman County. And then we've got a 4 out of 5 moderate risk. And moderate and high risk, the high is extremely rare. Moderate risk is even just showing that today is going to be one of those days. We are anticipating active weather, a long duration severe weather event. Can't stress this enough. And it's not just going to storm all day and it's just going to be this, almost like a hurricane that goes on for 12 hours of rain and wind. It's not going to be that, but we'll see pauses and breaks in activity. Those pauses, though, give us time for the atmosphere to get more and more unstable. If we pop some sunshine, to use a Jeff term there, if we pop some sun and we see mid to upper 70s, maybe even 80s, we've got the moisture from the Gulf, dew points climbing up. We've got the south wind. Everything, including the upper levels, are conducive and indicative of a potential severe weather threat. That's a big warning that just came out there.
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about just now, a little while ago, everybody. Angela brought up a good point. I just want to say this. If you have a smart TV, you can click on your screen, and at the bottom right, click on the 3 dots, and then that screen will go up, and you'll see us on your TV. You can actually get us there, too. So we can be on your TV, even when we're streaming. But
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. So thank you, Angela. You rock. I even put a like on that. See? Very good stuff. So they just issued a severe thunderstorm warning. We just talked about this, the area in Jasper. The lightning strikes were becoming more numerous. We were seeing some strengthening there. And that is the reason why that we've gone ahead and seen a bit more in the way of more lightning strikes and stronger winds in that area. And the reason why I paused was because we have a little downpour here at the station.
We do. I had to kind of second guess what that actually was for a second, but that's definitely just rain. It's not hail here in Huntsville. Let me get a speed on this storm. And it's moving northeast at 70. So that's for that new severe thunderstorm warning. This is for Coleman County, Morgan County, Marshall County, and parts of southern Madison County. We talked about these were the cells that were essentially coming out of Tuscaloosa, but this is for 1-inch diameter hail, winds potentially up to 60 miles per hour. Very fast moving though. So I'm going to put a big storm track on this. This is 70 miles per hour potentially. And there you go. Here's that storm timeline for now this new severe thunderstorm warning. This severe thunderstorm warning goes until, now we're talking 5:30 this morning. So severe thunderstorm warning, 1-inch diameter hail, 60 mile per hour winds. This is a big warning too, but this will affect you in Coleman County, a good portion of Morgan County, not quite you in Decatur. You're kind of sandwiched in between the two warnings right now. Not seeing anything indicative of possible rotation or anything tornadic. Heading into Madison County, eventually Jackson, and a good portion of Marshall County too. So that is the newest severe thunderstorm warning, and that is a big one. That is a oddly shaped polygon, but again, they're dealing with different weather service offices too with that. So that's new. Go back to that previous storm up here. Go back to high top radar. Continue to keep an eye on this between Hatton and Moulton here. Velocity. There's maybe a little bit of broad rotation there north and west of Moulton, but nothing that jumps off the screen is saying, something's happening right now in between you and Hatton and Moulton in Lawrence County. Out toward Cortland, this will move into Trinity, Decatur, cross over the river, and then eventually move upstream to the north and east to you in Athens, maybe even Elkmont, Harvest, Monrovia, those communities in Madison County not under the warning right now, but some wind with this for sure and potential for hail. And then we've got that new warning that's off to the south. In Coleman County, we kind of have to bounce in between radar sites. We go from high top now to the Birmingham radar. I think the strongest part of the storm is still in Jasper there, or northeast of it, and then now heading into parts of east, west, and southwest Coleman County. And that's going to include you in the Bremen area there. You're going to be one of the first to see that too. Dodge City, you've got Bremen, Cold Springs, Brushy Pond, Dodge City, out to Center Community, Good Hope, Coleman.
The cell moving 70 miles per hour. Eric, I'm going to do a quick cut in really quick. I'm going to go broad just to do a real quick cut in because it's now almost including parts of Huntsville.
Yep.
So I'm going to go wide out on that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do 2 graphics really quick and just kind of set up our newscast. I'm going to change it over to high top real quick if you don't mind. And I'm going to go back there and I'm going to go yell at them. I'm just going to use this one and do 2.
Well, there's no need to yell.
I yell at everybody. You know how I am. That's how I roll.
One of the most polite people I've ever met. He does not yell at anyone.
All right, there you go.
Again, this cut in not for urgency purposes, just because we do now have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings downstream, almost including most of our metro areas, but mainly for you in Coleman County, parts of northern and central Lawrence County, and Limestone County too. So this is just going to be a quick update that Jeff's going to do on TV and push people to obviously our continuing streaming coverage that's been going on since about 1:30 this morning. And then also to tell them to hopefully join the newscast here starting at 5 a.m. I'm going to see if I can get this one figured out.
Yep. You good? Severe thunderstorm warning has been added to parts of our area from Huntsville down to Hartselle to Coleman, goes all the way down to Jasper. That's one. We have a second one that includes parts of Lawrence County up into areas of eastern Lawrence County and western Limestone County. What we're tracking right now is not so much in the way of any kind of tornadic activity. Right now, it's mainly just heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and also potential for some large hail. The severe thunderstorm warning now does include parts of southwestern Huntsville and also into the Madison area. What's crazy is that these 2 severe thunderstorm warnings actually split you in Decatur, and you're not in the warning right now at this time. Some heavy rainfall. Even behind the warned cells, there's some very heavy rainfall falling back into Russellville, Florence, and down into Hamilton. We've already had tremendous amounts of rainfall in Franklin County here this morning. We've had numerous severe thunderstorm warnings already. The cells themselves are tracking off to the northeast, and this particular cell in the Coleman County area is moving at about 70 miles per hour. So the storms will continue to move southwest to northeast, and we are monitoring the potential for kind of a tornadic or spin up possible this morning, but this is mainly setting up right now to be mainly just rain, wind, and large hail, and they continue to track southwest to northeast. Clusters of storms impacting the area so far, mainly west of I-65, but now starting to stretch east. If you are in Jackson or DeKalb County or Marshall County, you haven't had anything so far, but please keep in mind, this wave of rain is going to continue through the mid-morning hours, and then it will shut down. And there'll be a couple hours where we start to see a little sunshine. and that's going to heat the atmosphere up again and likely have another round of severe weather this afternoon and evening, and that will continue right into about 10, 11 o'clock. And that's going to include everybody. So everybody gets round 2, and that's when we can see some of the strongest storms across our area. We still have a tornado watch for the counties in red. Remember, a watch means that the conditions are favorable for tornadic activity. It does not mean that we have a warning at this time. If you are east, you are not in the watch. But this will likely be the first of what will be 2 tornado watches issued today, because this one will be set to expire at 10 a.m. and then we'll have that break. And then as we go into the afternoon and evening, likely another tornado watch will be issued. And I would imagine all counties will be included in that. And the second round of storms will impact the area for the afternoon and evening. We are going to be here all day long at WAFF 48, giving you the very latest, not just on air, but we're online. Eric Burke is here with me. We are tag teaming this together here during the overnight. Got a newscast coming up at 5 o'clock. I'll have more updates during the newscast as well. For now, we'll send you back to regularly scheduled programming.
I actually got you on air that time.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I got you popped up. Someone said, hey, there's Jeff.
That was great. We didn't have an intro, so it threw me off. So I
No,
was like, hey, let's talk.
But for this one, Weather 48 goes to Prod 1 for that.
What was that? Say again.
Weather 48 goes to Prod 1.
Okay.
Instead of Weather 48 Max, we go Weather 48 to Prod 1. Just
That
talking
works.
about our routing sources here. Big picture, a lot of lightning. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings, potential for 1-inch hail. And guess what, Jeff? We've got another supercell here popping up. And this is going to be out in Mississippi, Pontotoc. And it shows you, and this is something that people have been asking over and over, with the rain. Think of how much rain this portion of Mississippi has already seen.
Yep.
It has not knocked down the severe threat at all, because now we have this new supercell developing here west and southwest of Pontotoc. Look at the velocity there, the shear rate, it's all there, and this is going to have some hail with it too, along with strong winds. So that is heading almost due east. I could potentially get a speed on that, so this would again kind of be another round of the morning round coming, having impacts potentially for Marion County and Franklin County down the road. So, stuff we're watching. These storms today will develop to our west and southwest. They will become severe. This is just the morning round. This is the round the whole time we've been saying we have the most questions regarding our actual severe weather threat. Well, we have a severe weather threat right now. We've got 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. One includes Lawrence County and also Limestone County, parts of you in extreme northwest Morgan County, but not including you in Decatur. We go down into Cullman County. Also includes you in Morgan County as well as Marshall County, and this is a storm we're watching. Right now, hail likely, strong winds, a lot of thunder and lightning all moving in. This is over you in Bremen, and watching for any potential rotation with this too. Not seeing it necessarily right now, but something we'll continue to watch. If you're in Dodge City, strong winds. This will be in downtown Cullman here in a little bit. This is moving very fast, about 70 miles per hour.
You got to really go deep, 70 miles per hour to stretch that out. There you go. You got it done.
Ask and it shall be done.
You got it done, my friend. So we've seen, what's crazy what we've seen this morning is the different speeds of these storms. We had storms that were racing at 55 miles an hour and they moved into Alabama, then they slowed down. We had some very heavy rain. Now we have another cell to the south. That one's moving at 70 miles an hour. And you have all these areas of convergence now with thunderstorms all kind of coming together, working southwest and northeast. And that's something that we're going to be tracking throughout much of the day, not just with round 1 this morning, but again this afternoon and evening. Already you've had heavy rainfall, and a lot of you are very knowledgeable and said, hey, if we have all this heavy rain this morning, we're going to cool the air and we're going to be good to go, right? Well, evidence that Eric just showed you that another cell is developed in central Mississippi where heavy rain has already fallen overnight. And here we go, a cell developing where we've had heavy rainfall. So I don't think the heavy rain that we're going to have here this morning where we have it is going to squash the round 2 potential. Unfortunately, I do think that's still going to play out this afternoon and evening. If you miss out on storms here this morning, there's round 2 still coming after a couple hours where there'll be a period where it's quiet and might even get some sunshine. That's the problem, is we may get some sunshine to help heat the atmosphere, and the temperatures could really take off, and it would just add fuel to the fire this afternoon.
Yeah, Coleman County is getting pretty rough. We're going to get a new severe thunderstorm warning coming out. That's being drawn up for Lawrence and Limestone counties, Northwest Morgan, Madison, and Lincoln. That's 442. So this is either a new one. Oh, okay, they're just going to probably extend it to that southern area. Jeff, is my theory here.
That's what it looks like they're going to do, yeah.
So probably include you in here.
I don't think I've ever seen a situation where you have two severe thunderstorm warnings so close to each other, but there's like a big city that's not included, and that's Decatur. You're kind of put in the middle. You're getting split to the northwest and southeast right now.
Yeah, still watching this one up here in Tennessee. It'll move into Wayne County. That's not looking too impressive. Still dumping rainfall in the Quad Cities. The lightning concentration is going to be right here, kind of along that trifecta, if you will, as you move toward the Trinity area. You've got Town Creek there. Hatton's moving into Tanner eventually. That's where that current warning is. And then the new warning is going to pop up and probably just fill in the void of that gap there. And then into Coleman County, ton of wind with this. Moving right into Dodge City, Good Hope. This will cross over I-65 and eventually will move into parts of downtown Coleman itself.
Imagine the wind gusts with that. What does the velocity show? About 60, 65 mile per hour winds in the Coleman area?
Well, this is always a tough one because you're
is.
in between Birmingham. We could get you some estimates, but these winds won't be necessarily at the surface. Certainly warrants the severe thunderstorm warning that was issued, but that warning goes until 5:30. But it's always just hard to get the most honest look. Coleman, you guys are always just in that gap. So that new severe thunderstorm warning, if you're in Cortland, you're okay. Moulton, you're okay. This is just an extension of that current one, and it still somehow narrowly avoids you in Decatur. Not saying Decatur won't get some winds, but that's what we're watching, and seeing an uptick in lightning too. That concentration just east of you in Cortland, certainly something to monitor there.
So that means if you're in Athens or now Hazel Green, the Ardmore Twins up towards Newmarket, you're now included in this warning. Athens, you already were in the warning originally, but now that storm's moving closer, the heavy rain, the lightning, and it's on your doorstep, especially for areas in western Athens, moving out of Rogersville and Coxie.
Yeah, are you set up for your newscast?
I'll make it work.
Okay, that's what I like to hear.
Yep.
That's the Jeff Desnoyers spirit right there.
Now, with the anchors being on during the newscast, can we still be live?
That's a question people were asking. Are we going to stay on YouTube? When we go into the newscast, we are going to end this stream effectively.
Yeah.
If you are solely watching us on streaming, you could still watch us on WAFF.com. You could watch us on the news app. But the Facebook stream will probably go down. But if we do go continuous, the stream will go right back up too. So we just encourage you to turn on your television and watch the newscast. But it's almost impossible to do a Facebook live stream when Matthew King and Claudia Peppenhorst are, in the midst of doing their thing as well. Jeff has plenty of weather hits. I will be watching the radar kind of off camera, just keeping an eye on things. Anything that is changing, intensifying, new warnings come out, we will relay that to you, of course. But it's just nearly impossible to keep the stream going. And we have an actual newscast. Like, we will be, here doing what we do 7 days a week, all day, what it feels like sometimes.
And I'm actually, if you don't mind, I'm putting a quick show together to make sure I have the potential for a couple hits that I have to do here in the beginning. So I'm putting that all together really quick. I'm sorry, everybody.
If you go to the router, please.
Yes.
If you hit weather 48, if you go down, radar 1, hit that. Now that will go over the stream, and I could still show the radar, and you could build your newscast.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. That's a lot of lightning right now in Coleman County. In Coleman itself, but Coleman County, that is a lot of lightning. Little uptick in lightning here, heading into Limestone County. So this is for you in Athens. If you're in Athens, even Elkmont, Tanner, you guys have the potential of 60-mile-per-hour winds right now, 1-inch diameter hail, ton of cloud to ground lightning, and this is just going to produce torrential rainfall too. Velocity, not seeing rotation. Strong winds, yes, but not spinning winds. Molten, it's still pouring for you. And then we just have this massive cluster of heavy rain, probably some hail and wind, all there through basically almost, I'd say 50% of Coleman County right now is at least dealing with heavy rainfall, strong winds, potential for hail too. So severe thunderstorm warning for this one includes Morgan and Marshall County and parts of Madison County, even southern Madison County, just north of the river. That goes until 5:30. New severe thunderstorm warning up here includes extreme northeast of Lawrence County, Limestone County, and now parts of Madison County. This would be more northern Madison County, so if you're in Harvest, Monrovia, that area, this would include you in Meridianville and Newmarket just outside it. This warning goes until 5:45, so 2 active warnings. Another one that doesn't look like it's going to be extended into Wayne County, and then we have to switch radar sites and see what's going on with this supercell right now, west and southwest of Pontotoc, and this is an area that saw rain. So effectively that rainfall is not doing the job of lowering the instability. It looks like this is the same environment that it's moving through. Definitely some shear with that. Not seeing any debris, but there is definitely rotation, and just this shape of it is not the shape we like to see. Don't like to see storm shape like that. This is definitely a supercell redeveloping. It's heading toward Tupelo. Doesn't look like it's super fast moving, but that is something potentially if you are in Franklin, Marion counties, they're down the road. This is something that we might be talking about at some point through that 5 to 7 a.m. hour during the actual newscast.
Yeah, and if that transitions across the Alabama state line with a tornado warning, we'll go live and we'll go wall to wall for that. And we'll be keeping an eye on that. I'm going to be updating the weather hits like we normally do so far with just severe thunderstorm warnings, and I'll make sure I emphasize what areas will be hit. And we'll have storms coming your way and heavy rainfall if you haven't had it yet. And I'll address that on air here shortly. We go live at 5. And of course, the streaming feed will have to come to an end when we go live. But again, if we go tornado warning and have to go wall to wall, we will start the feed back up again. And we will be live both ways so we can keep you updated. How you doing on that hail tracker? You still trying to make that work, aren't you?
Yeah, I fired off an email, hopefully at least before the afternoon round when we're really going to need that tool.
Yeah.
That will be up and working for you. So that is good news, but here's just to reset the view. As of right now, we do not have a tornadic threat, an imminent tornadic threat. Not saying we can't get a spin up here, a quick area of rotation at some point here this morning. We are still forecasting some strong winds, potential for hail, a ton of heavy rain leading to a flooding threat, and that cloud to ground lightning too has been so frequent here early this morning.
A lot of people asking about their particular towns. Got a good update here though. Let me see where it went. I was looking. Kelsey, she's in Tanner. She said, very loud. Yep.
Very loud.
Very loud. I believe that. So thunder, I'm gonna put the lightning strikes back up again. What should turn your attention where your eyeballs go is all those lightning strikes in the Coleman area. That's an area where that storm is strengthening and it's racing to the north and east at like 70 miles an hour. Before we go to live air at 5 o'clock for the newscast, let me just, whoops. Don't want it going 100 miles an hour. That wouldn't be good, but we'll say 70. So there's your time frame on that particular cell. And it's going to probably end up merging with the other cell that's moving through Limestone County now and could start to dump some very heavy rain in the Jackson County area as we go into probably closer to almost 5:30, 6 o'clock. But that's something that we're tracking. Obviously, all this stuff starts to merge together. You wring it out like a sponge, right? So there's your time frame on that particular cell. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take this Athens one, take it off to the north and east. Not quite going that fast. I don't want to do that. I want to slow that down just a little bit. So there you go. So there's times there for you. Takes you out to Hazel Green by about 5:17 a.m. Some of you asking about Hazel Green. The Ardmore Twins about 5:02. It's on your doorstep. It's hitting Athens pretty much right now. Elkmont right now. And in the Athens area, I imagine you have some very heavy rainfall. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in. I want to check the Athens area out really quick.
Why don't you go back to weather 48 max?
Yep. I'm going to turn the lightning strikes off really quick. So in the Athens Tanner area, I imagine you're getting some winds probably to the surface of about 40 miles an hour, maybe a little stronger if you're in Trinity or Hillsborough. This is where we're seeing some of the strongest winds right now. And turn back the radar.
Hey, some good news though. They're going to cancel the severe thunderstorm warning. That storm that's right over you in Athens. Not saying it's not going to be a storm that might wake you up with some gusty winds, but it's not severe anymore. So severe thunderstorm warning will be canceled there for Limestone, Madison, and even parts of Lincoln County there. That was that extension of the original severe thunderstorm warning. Coleman County, a lot of lightning with that. That's going to be the biggest threat. And I'm making breakthroughs on the hail button. We're going to have that fixed by later today. That is a promise. Those fine folks here and right here in Huntsville, Alabama at Barron Weather Services responding to emails before 5 a.m. That's what we like to see.
That's because they're all about keeping people safe like you.
They are,
That's
yep.
right.
And trying to keep you guys safe at home. Their products are fantastic. We like having them right in our backyard too. But that is a ton of lightning. I'm going to bump you to the
I'm going
right
this
here
way.
for 1 sec. I just need to... you're gonna tell them all about that.
Yes, and I love talking about this tornado watch. Counties in red, goes till 10 a.m. I imagine that if you are in areas in the red when the tornado watch went off back at like 3 o'clock, it probably 2:30. It probably really freaked you out thinking that there was a tornado. We have not had any confirmation of a tornado. We did have a brief tornado warning in Franklin County and also into Marion County. But areas east are not in the tornado watch, and it goes until 10 a.m. Please keep in mind that this will likely be the first of probably 2 tornado watches for the area today. The second one will come this afternoon and evening and probably take over all of the Tennessee Valley. And that will be a concern when round 2 comes for more in the way of potentially damaging storms, including wind, rain, large hail, and tornadoes. Right now, we currently do not have a tornado threat. Most of these storms, the severe thunderstorm warning, it extended from Coleman County up and towards Madison County, and there is some vivid lightning and probably some damaging winds and heavy rain, but we don't see any rotation with these storms at this time. There is a supercell in central Mississippi that we'll be keeping an eye on. That's going to continue to move east if it maintains its strength. If you live in Franklin County or if you live in areas like Marion County, almost the same area we saw earlier, and I'll zoom over to that really quick and I'll pull the radar up for that. There's the tornado warning, and that is moving towards Tupelo right now. Still a ways to go before it makes it to Alabama, but if it makes its way there with the same strength, at that time we'll go live and we'll do wall-to-wall coverage for the tornado warning. But at this time, the only severe thunderstorm warning we have for our viewing area is Coleman County, up into areas like parts of Marshall County, southeastern Morgan County. It includes a sliver of Madison County. Southeast Huntsville is included in that. And that's mainly for rain, wind, lightning, and gusty winds. Mainly before the gusty winds, probably excess of 60 miles per hour. So we are going to be starting our newscast in about 3 minutes, which means I am going to shut down the Facebook Live. I'm going to let them know. And we will be back. If we give a tornado warning, we'll stream again and be live on TV. For now, our newscast should be able to update most of the weather we have going on right now with just one severe thunderstorm warning. Please be safe, everybody, through the morning hours. We'll have more updates to come throughout the day.